Hello, welcome to Xbox Infinite. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. Episode 35. As you could probably tell already, I am again sick, or still sick. I don't know if it's just carrying through or if I'm just the unluckiest dude on the planet, but I just keep getting ill. But we'll try to get the show keeping that same energy. We do have a good show for you this week, and we do also have some very, very good topics and an amazing guest. Elaine Sanchez Gomez, or do you want us to call you Shulatastic?
Call me Elaine, that's totally fine.
Elaine is a developer. Welcome to the show. Just let the people know a little bit about you, what you do, what you like to play, so on and so forth.
Sure thing. Hi, everybody. My name is Elaine Gomez. I am a game designer at a studio based out of New York City called Brass Lion Entertainment, where we're working on an anime kind of style action RPG. Very exciting. What I like to play, so I play everything because as a game designer, kind of like honing in one thing kind of like puts you in a corner because then you don't get inspired and influenced by like all the things going on. So I kind of play a little bit of everything, but lately I play a lot of Dead by Daylight. So that's the game that I pretty much play on a daily basis with my my husband, who also plays with me and who's also a developer. So that's fun. So thanks so much for having me, y'all. I appreciate being here.
Oh, awesome! So you guys, do you guys get home and talk shop about games and just basically?
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely talk shop. Definitely bounce ideas off of each other sometimes for our work, and we make games together as well, like on the side, just for fun.
Are you guys at the same studio or?
Yep, we met at the same studio 3.5 years ago, but since then we work at different studios. He's at an indie studio. They just announced their game actually yesterday called Bounty Star, being published by Annapurna.
Oh, cool!
So that was exciting. Yeah. They announced their game.
Yeah,
we did it though. Our studio did not do that.
Congratulations!
Thank you. Yeah. It's really hard as a partner, to be honest. Like. Knowing about the projects for like years and then having to keep quiet about it, and finally when they can release, it's like, yay, we can talk about the thing with our friends and family more openly. But as a developer, like, it's like, whoa, like, I've been knowing about it, right? Because when you're married to somebody who's been developing, it's like, yeah, you know about it for a long time. They talk about it like all the time, but you can't say a word. You know what I mean?
I actually saw that Annapurna showcase yesterday, but because I've been sick, it's been really hard to insert things into the show, kind of late notice. But maybe we'll get into talking about what was it called? Did you say Bounty Star?
Bounty Star, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw the
see
gameplay
that. Yeah.
for that.
Yeah, like neck with like Western type of like aesthetic.
Nice.
Yeah.
It looked cool.
It's really interesting.
It all looked really cool, actually. There was a lot of stuff on there coming from Annapurna that I'm pretty interested in. Even the Edith Finch update was pretty cool. But look, I'll move on to introducing the panel. DoomCutie, welcome back. How's your week? What have you been playing? What have you been up to?
Hey guys, how's it going? I have been smashing Forza Horizon 5 Hot Wheels DLC. That has been my jam this week. It has been my happy place. I'm obsessed. I'm almost fully done with my with the pass, with the leveling inside it, so that's pretty cool. You would have seen me, well, if some of you were there, I streamed it on Wednesday. So if you haven't seen it, go and check that out. That's on my Twitch. And yeah, been having a really good time. We jumped on Halo the other day, which was very fun. If you like supervising toddlers, you'll enjoy playing with my fellow panel members. And if you haven't seen the video of them acting like said toddlers, you can see that on my Twitter. So go ahead and check that out.
Well, you'll be able to...
You got some really great news this week in terms of Forza community. What happened?
Forza community? That's something I can't talk about just yet.
Okay.
Yeah, look, I was just going to say, if you want to see that footage, it's actually coming out really, really soon, where we basically run around for hours killing each other.
It was great.
It's
definitely.
I do have to say that Doomy did get involved in the killing action in the end, so that was pretty good.
Okay, I'll just put this out there. That was only because Umbra was up in my face, staring at me. He was like, "Are you going to do anything? Are you going to do anything?" I was just seeing if you're still there. And I whacked him in the face with my lightning.
She had the energy sword and cut me in half
Yeah.
right while I was just looking to see if she was still there. I'm like, is she AFK? And slice, you see, like, and she wants to pretend like she's just innocent.
I'll finish out the intro so we can get moving because we only do have a lane for an hour. So, JediKnightPete, all good guys. JediKnightPete, welcome back. How's your week? Oh, I know you've been playing Halo, obviously, and you're playing what's on the screen now at the moment, actually, as well. Multiverses, a new game dropped, and you've been having a bit of fun with that.
Yeah, honestly, haven't been gaming that much. I try and just been keeping it to 2-hour bits because my tooth's been killing me. But loving Multiverse, really fun, free game. Check it out, guys. It's not in Game Pass. You have to go to the shop, but it is free. And yeah, it was awesome to get into Halo co-op a little bit as well. I also did a little bit of the Halo Alpha Pack because I wanted to get progress in that. So I'm up to level 8 at the moment. Only got a couple to go and a little bit of Forza.
Yeah, oh, fantastic. Yep, I've been playing a little bit of Forza, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and a lot of Netflix, so I can slowly die on my couch. Umbra, how's your week? What have you been doing? What have you been up to? What have you been playing?
Well, I've been living on my couch. I haven't been perishing as you have, unfortunately. But yeah, man, I've been playing a bunch of things. I finished up Stray, and I tried to go for the 2-hour run to get the last 2 trophies. Why did I finish 2 hours and 6 minutes and didn't get it? I was so damn mad. I was so damn mad.
You're not a real gamer, that's why.
Right.
Exact time it took me for Super Metroid.
Remind me to betray her once we get back into Halo. So yeah, we're gonna get back. We've been playing some Halo. I've been playing. I beat As Dusk Falls. I completed that. 1,000.
I've been playing that too.
Yeah,
I
that's right. Night. That's true. So, okay. We gotta talk about that. But yeah, As Dusk Falls, I gave it 8. Stray, I gave a 7.5 out of 10. And Chula, thank you for joining us. I just wanted to say that.
Oh, thank you for having me.
All right, look, we'll jump into the first topic straight away. It's a very highly charged topic, so I'll have to rein you all in if you get a little bit out of control. But GTA 6 has rumored to have a female protagonist for the first time ever. And there's been a lot of discourse online with people getting upset about it, which I found odd. I did do a poll on whether people actually cared. I got 290 votes, and the poll was basically, do you mind having a female protagonist? Would you rather choose your own? Would you want male, or would you rather be a female? And the overwhelming response was basically that people are just happy to do whatever they want. It was 68% people were happy, and then the other, I think 40% of it was like people like to be able to choose their sex. I don't think it's a major issue, but it has been all over Twitter. The issue that I mainly have with the game, and the thing that I'm concerned about, is this. I'll read you an excerpt from True Achievements, and an article that they did on Grand Theft Auto. The Grand Theft Auto series has always poked fun at many elements of society that were the most prominent at the time of each game's development. And while it's earned Rockstar a reputation as a studio unafraid to push the boundaries, it was uncovered back in 2018 that the same attitude was applied in its workplace culture. Hundreds of reports began to surface about crunching, partying, regular strip club visits, and 7-day work weeks. Instead of covering it up or offering measly payouts, it looks like Rockstar instead decided to reinvent itself for the better. Bloomberg reported that changes to the company have come in the way of decreasing the gender pay gap. There shouldn't be one. The conversion of contractors into full-time employees, mental health and leave benefits, and the promise of no more excessive overtime and better scheduling, the removal of several toxic managers, and more. The company has even implemented a system called FlexiTime, which allows staff to immediately take time off for every extra hour they work, which is pretty standard in Australia. You get that. You can take that as extra leave, or you can take it as straight cash. That's really kind of up to you how you roll. This is my concern with GTA and just the current climate of the world, is that I would think it would be very difficult for a studio to satirize, as they did in the past, the current climate of the world without people being offended and calling for the cancellation of the game. And this kind of reared its head when they did the remasters and remakes. They did remove some of the less tasteful jokes and shots that they took at certain parts of the community from the game. But look, people weren't happy about that because it wasn't a true one-to-one of what the original game was. And obviously things at different times change. But my concern for GTA is, are they going to go all out and be the GTA that we know, which is they basically take the piss out of anything and everything, and they didn't seem to care. And now I'm wondering if we'll get a watered-down version. Elaine, I'll go to you, as you're a developer. What's your kind of thoughts on Rockstar as a studio? Do you think they'll be able to pull off the GTA that they were in the past? Do you want them to, or do you want them to water it down a little bit and just be a bit more respectful of different parts of the community?
And it's hard to say, right? Because like as a developer, I don't like to throw shade or put anybody down. There's thousands of people that work at these big studios. A lot of the people are great people, and decisions made by leadership or things that have been put under the rug is not the fault of the majority. It's not. It's not fair, and it doesn't reflect on their work and stuff. So it's hard to say. Their history, we all know internally the horror stories, like even more so as a woman in games. Like there's a network of women inside the industry, and we tell each other stuff. We tell each other, hey, like don't go here if you're thinking about applying because so and so works here, and he has done XYZ or she has done XYZ. So there's talk. The industry is very small, so it really sucks that people, I don't know, have done a lot of harm, whether it be emotional, whether it be psychological, whether it be physical, in different ways, not just harassment, but just like degrading people, like treating people like garbage. So that in that part it sucks. But it's interesting what you were talking about, whether their work with GTA can be watered down or not, because the reality is that through the years of the GTA franchise, right, the leadership, the teams have all been on rotation. Like I don't know how many original people are on the team from the original GTA, right? Every single project that comes out, it's a different team. So you're going to get different content, different design, different development, because the group of people are just different. They have different ideas, they have different opinions, and they want to take that world in a different direction, potentially. However, with franchises, there exists this perspective that there's history there, and there's an expectation from the player community for it to do and be certain things too. So you kind of have to respect that, and that's really difficult to do when you have a new team, perhaps trying to do some out of the box stuff that folks will not like because it's not in the world that they're used to playing in. So it's tough to say what will work and whether they're going to be able to meet expectations or whether or not they're going to water their content down or not. I wouldn't say it would be watered down. It could be different. But I would also not expect it to be completely against what they have done before, because it is an established IP, and with that comes the respect of original design and original direction. So that's what I can give you from like the lens of a developer.
Do you think that the industry is improving when it comes to crunch, when it comes to this sort of these horror stories that we keep hearing coming out?
Let me tell you, I have experienced it myself. Like I have my own story of being treated like absolute garbage, and being disrespected, and not even getting paid for the same amount of work as a male counterpart, even though I was actually doing more work as them. I've had friends who have been underpaid 10 to 20,000 US dollars less than their male counterparts as well. So, and there's way worse stories than what I have experienced out there. People who have really been hurt. I think things are getting better. Compared to 15 years ago, things have definitely moved in a more positive direction. But just because things have been changing does not mean that all the issues are gone. Because the reality is that there's a lot of leadership that has been at certain companies for decades, and whatever they say goes. And if they say we're going to throw this under the rug, it's going to get thrown under the rug. So it's really important to look at all these leaders. I'm talking about the executives, right? Like CEOs and VPs, executive producers and game directors, like all those leadership teams across the board, and see who in there has been an agent of change and who has been trying to keep things hush hush and trying to like not saying fire them, but like if nothing is being done and they're the reason why certain things are happening, then take a look in the mirror and take out your trash. You know what I mean? We saw that with Ubisoft, right? Last year, when they really were firing people left and right, things that had been happening for 10 plus years that were just swept under the rug. But it sucks to see that, because you would want people to like stand up for people. If somebody is yelling at somebody or degrading somebody in a team meeting, you would want somebody to like stand behind and be like, no, like don't talk to them that way, right? Or like respect them. But oftentimes that's not the case. People stay quiet and they don't want to lose their job. So it sucks. I say things have gotten better for sure, and some studios are great at like not having those type of environments and having like real core rule sets about how we're treating people here, that these are safe places for us to like stand up for ourselves and like have an opinion on like how you're being treated, whatnot. Crunch is another beast, because how can you prevent overworking for a deadline that we really need to meet? Sometimes it's almost unavoidable. But the issue that I see personally as a developer is having the environment of crunch be the default way that you work. So there are some studios out there who have adopted a crunch mentality where if you are not working more than 10 to 12 hours a day, you're not really working. There's this idea of like workaholism, that if you're really passionate about what you're working, you will put in your all. And that includes working weekends. That includes working overtime that is unpaid. And, staying away from your family because this is what you have to do. But things have been getting better, because a lot of folks, especially with COVID and having to work remotely, there has to be a balance because of everything going on with working remote. People are working all over the world for companies located in specific cities. And you have to be mindful that, there's a 6-hour difference for, some folks in whatever teams that, hey, they need to clock out at next time, because it's ridiculous to have them on a call at 1 a.m. for whatever reason. So I think things have been getting better, but it's not something that has been completely broken. And it's a mentality, again, that comes from leadership. If people have been doing this for 10 plus years and that's just how things are, quote unquote, then it's really going to take a village to say, no, this is not how it should be. And if this is how it's going to be, I'm not going to work here. And that's what's happening right now with like the new generation coming into the game industry, where they really want to have a work-life balance. They want to have a healthy life. And how can you be creative and do your best work when you're tired and when you're angry, when you're frustrated that your company doesn't care about your health? Because the reality is that it affects you when you're working overtime without getting paid and not sleeping well, not eating well. Like your output's not going to be the same as if you were rested and if you had a clear mind. So yeah. It's tough to say. It's really, really hard. But I know that big companies are working towards that and have hired specific people to help with that, especially because of remote work.
I could definitely relate to.
Colt Eastwood.
Yeah, g'day, Colt. How you doing? I could definitely relate to what you're saying, Elaine. As an ex-chef and coming up through the industry as an apprentice, what was expected, looking back, was unrealistic, and the way that we were treated was just the way that you were treated. You were screamed at, things thrown at you, and all that sort of stuff. And
Right.
Looking back to see the change, that's what we thought. I mean, I'm 41, and that's just what we thought was the done thing. That's just what you do.
Right.
And it's good to see that people are standing up and saying this is not what the kind of environment that we want to exist in and we want to live in, and things can be done just as well, just as productively and a hell of a lot less toxically. Look, I'm going to go to DoomCutie.
I want to say that I think the best point that Elaine made then is it's going to take a generational change. And I think the younger generation just won't stand for it anymore. And I think the more women and the more diversity we get in development is only going to lead to better games for all of us.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, I agree.
Absolutely. Doom, Cutie, are you, I assume, I think you've played GTA 5. I'm pretty sure you have. You were saying you have.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had that conversation while we were playing Halo, I think.
Yes, we did.
What,
Yes, we did.
Are you concerned about them watering down GTA 6 and removing some of the satire? Do you think it can still be done in a way that still has that GTA flavor, but a little bit more respectfully? Are you concerned about having a female protagonist?
No, well, I'm not concerned about having a female protagonist. I would love to be able to play a female, and I think that's something that GTA has been missing, because there have been a lot of side characters that have been female who have been actually awesome, who I would have loved to have explored the story more with. And I think in regards to the flavor of the game, I understand as a gamer that, you know, studios don't stay the same, people don't stay the same on teams within that studio, and especially a big one like Rockstar. So if things change dramatically, I think people will be upset. But I do hope that we can still see the fantastic. Look, I think GTA is funny. I think that its outlandishness is funny. I do hope that stays. I really do. But I think they have to beware that these games, you know, just because you put a sticker on a game doesn't mean that impressionable teenager isn't going to play it. I think they need to realize that, yes, it is satire. Yes, a fully grown adult who has a fully developed brain can understand that this is a joke, or some things are jokingly done, or they're politically steered, or something like that. But I think if they can finesse it and just put it into the game in a way that is, or just a balance of those jokes, that satirical spiciness that we all love about GTA, and being able to be a positive influence on gamers, I think that would be a really nice.
I think you made a really good point there. Sorry to jump in, but you are a fully developed brain. But I think what you're trying to get at there is that it is a game for adults. It's not a game for children. And it should
Correct.
never be seen as a game for children, and parents should be very careful about what they let their children play. As the average age of a gamer these days is, I believe, 35. So we are mostly adults that consume these products, but I don't think that parents, I think it's getting better, but I think that parents sometimes need to be a little bit more careful about what they let their children consume in regards to movies and in regards to games as well. Umbra, are you concerned about them watering down GTA 6? Seems to be a massive conversation on Twitter at the moment. Some really bad takes. I've seen some absolutely awful takes on this. And I don't think myself personally, I'll just throw it out there before I go to you, Umbra, I have no issue with having a female protagonist. It suits the game. It matches the game. We haven't had one. I think it gives you a lot of different options and a way you can take the story, to do something new, different, fresh, while still having the GTA flavor, which I hope they do. And I just don't think that it's a non-issue here. Say if they wanted to swap Master Chief to a woman. Okay, well, maybe I could have an issue with that because Master Chief is a dude, and we could have a fresh take on a Spartan that's female. That's absolutely fine. I just think this is not one of those things where they're gender swapping for the sake of gender swapping. I think it's a complete non-issue, but it just seems to be blowing up on Twitter at the moment. Umbra, what's your take on GTA 6? Do you think that having a female protagonist is an issue? And do you think that they can just keep that same flavor and that GTA 6 will still be in the same vein as all the GTAs before it?
Well, I'm fine with it completely with having a female protagonist. I think it makes, sense to have that at this point anyway. I mean, it's all been male. So I'm good with that. I have no issue with that one way or another. I know some people, I would say anybody, no matter if you're male or female, if you're playing with the protagonist long enough, you're probably going to be like, I would like somebody that's representative of me. So I can get that, especially for the ladies, getting themselves their own psychotic protagonist to use in this GTA. Absolutely. My worry, though, because we have seen the reports from Bloomberg about, the work culture behind the scenes, and that's good, right? As far as human, like societal, conditions go, that's a plus. We want that, right? So obviously I'm happy for that, behind the scenes and things like that. But we also saw where, and not to say that it should have been there, and not to say that this is a negative because they removed it, but they were talking about they removed a transphobic joke, and that's just to throw that out to point out that there are many jokes that they could use that and say retroactively this is harmful and take that out. So I do believe that because of today's culture and how things are moving, and I don't want to say woke, but that's kind of what it feels like, right? But that's just the trigger word I think people just run to. But it does feel like that GTA might be hindered in that process of us. I see you trying to murder me on the screen, by the way. GTA is by it threw me off, but GTA might be affected by that in some way. I'm wondering if that might be the case as well. I don't know if it's going to be a negative or a positive, net gain or a negative gain. I don't know how that might work out, but it does seem to point in the direction that they'll curtail jokes, or at least they'll be more mindful of how they, present things, as not to offend, I guess, groups and people. And I don't know if that's really GTA. And I don't say that to say they need to keep these homophobic or transphobic or, racial, or I'm not just trying to advocate for that, but I definitely feel like it's changing GTA, and I'm not sure if it's negative for the better or for the worse, just to be sure. I don't know yet. I guess we'll have to wait to see when we get there. Mm-hmm. But I noticed a lot of their satire and things like that are based around being really, tongue in cheek and dark humor. So I don't know how much that'll be affected by today's societal culture, I guess is the best way I could put it. I'm in a sense, I'm worried about that, but not about the core gameplay and elements and things of that nature, and definitely not about it being a female protagonist. That's all good news right there to me. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure, by the way, it's going to look gorgeous, just thinking about how great Red Dead Redemption 2 looked and still looks today. So my only worry would be is that they try to be too PC in some way, and it takes GTA from being what GTA typically was. That would be it. But I'm not advocating. I don't want it to sound like I'm advocating for them to keep anything that's harmful to anyone. So it's a tricky line. It's
a very slippery slope to talk about, and that's kind of why we're talking about it, because it would be an even slipperier slope to develop for. I was thinking about this a lot when this was happening online. I was just like, well, as the developers, it would be really difficult to say, how far is too far. And having that in a game, it's not something that you can, you can't. It's something that you say. I mean, that people can get over it, but something that's in a game that can be played over and over and over and over. That's something completely different. I don't envy these developers, Pete. Are you excited? Look, I actually wouldn't mind seeing a really psychopathic Trevor-like female character. That would be awesome.
Trevor was great, and I would love to see an unhinged woman just living her best life. Maybe this female protagonist has this crazy girlfriend who's just like off chops, and she's always trying to or who's always messing things up for her, and oh my god, that would be so classic. Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's absolutely all good. No, it would. I think it really would, and I think people are looking at this in the wrong light.
Oh my god, like a Harley Quinn style. That would be cool.
Absolutely.
I don't know why people are looking at this in a negative light. It's Rockstar, guys. And I mean, let's face it, ever since Rockstar has been making GTA, they've been getting pushback from the larger community. I mean, there is negative press saying they've gone too far. Rockstar's gone too far this time. And all
it's
that
all
does is
sensationalized, though.
Yeah, it is. And it makes more people go out and buy their games, and GTA will always succeed. I mean, the franchise is the biggest franchise in gaming. I mean, it's sold over 100 million copies. It was amazing.
One of the biggest. Get Minecraft.
Yeah. It sold it 3 times as well, right? 3 times they've sold that damn. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
And another great point I think we should be making is there are ratings on games, guys. Yep. I mean, it is an R-rated game, and parents are. They know that it's an R-rated game. It's just like a movie. I wouldn't take my kid to see an R-rated movie, and I wouldn't buy an R-rated game for them. It's an adult game. Do I think that they need to cut back and become a little bit more PC? I hope they don't. I mean, I think they're like South Park in that way, where they make fun of everything and everybody equally. That's just part of, their charm, I think.
But Pete, think about it. You're a teenage boy. You see this game's rated R on the shelf. You can literally just do whatever you want, kill whoever you want, be a gangster. Who's not going to want to play that? You know what I mean? So it's already enticing enough. Just because there's a sticker on it that says this is for, a fully developed brain and not their brain, doesn't mean they're not going to play it. So
yeah, Microsoft have fought very hard in the background to put passwords and not allowing games to play certain games, so you can limit your Xbox to only play M-rated games or PG-rated games. And I think if they let the public know that they can do that, then all of that, pushback should really dissipate. I mean, like Risket said, the average age of a gamer now these days is 35 years old. Why should we miss out? Because
that's true. I agree.
Yeah,
but I'm also seeing it from.
So that's my
I'm also
problem.
I'm just seeing it from the other side. Like,
do you think that a teenager playing this game is a really a bad thing? I mean,
if he's beating up a hooker, if he has a hooker and then he beats her up and takes his money back, or like strangles her afterwards, like, I don't know, is that promoting female violence against women?
See, I just disagree. I think that people understand that there's a line between real life and gaming, and yeah, I get
13 or 14-year-old isn't thinking that.
Even a 13 and 14-year-old can differentiate between what is in a movie and what is in a game and what is in real life. I mean, you're just not going to go up to a person in real life and point a gun at them. Like, that's just insanity to me. Whereas
because
in a game,
if we go to that type of thought and that thought process, by the way, that just goes to what these legislators and such in Congress try to do. Try to blame it on games.
Like,
it's not
remember when Columbine happened? The guys were playing, I think, Doom or something along those lines, and they wanted so very much to blame the game rather than the individual that committed the crime.
Exactly. Or their upbringing or their parents. Exactly. Or the people they're around. Yeah, the gaming is not doing that. I'm with you on that, Pete. I do hear you, Cutie, but I feel like
I understand.
It's a very nuanced problem. And you can look at it from all different angles. But for me personally, I think that entertainment is entertainment, strictly entertainment. Anyone that wants to take it any further than that is just using it as an excuse.
Now, I'll say there are some instances, right? Like maybe profanity. Maybe, a kid can be influenced by that. I'm not going to deny that nothing will be influenced from games. But as far as them going out to just go strangle somebody or something like that, or go do a violent act, I don't think that we can attribute that to that.
Kill himself.
I can't wait. From what I've read, it's meant to be like a Bonnie and Clyde type situation. That sounds so cool to me. I love the fact that it's going to be in Miami. I'm guessing they're going to be from Cuba. There's a lot of Cubans in Florida. I think the story just sounds fantastic at the moment. Yeah, and I can't wait.
Well, look, I'll just say one more thing on the whole parental controls, like rating thing. Parents need to be looking at these technologies, and they need to be saying, I need to be up to date with putting these parental controls in on the Xbox. I need to put, or whatever gaming console they're playing, they need to put them in place. They need to put the passwords on, and they need to be on top of it. It's as simple as that. They have to filter their entertainment that their kids are getting, but
that's available to them. Absolutely. And Xbox is really good at doing that. But you guys brought up an interesting question, and I hate to get too political. I really don't like doing that on the show, but I do want to ask Elaine, because you're a developer. What's your thoughts on a lot of these senators when we have a tragedy happen and whoever's involved in the tragedy, might have been playing a specific game? To me, I think I know what you're going to say, but to me, it's pretty plain, it's got nothing to do with the game and everything to do with the individual's mental state. But what's your thoughts on senators and people of power trying to blame gaming for the woes of society?
It's always the same, right? It's been the same song being played and same thing being played for like decades at this point. Like it happened in Columbine, like you said, it's been the same BS. So to me, it's like you said, the games are not to blame. What is to blame though is everything else in our society because we are synthesizing ourselves from violence and the realities of the world, right? So it's not just games. If you look at games, then you have to look at comics, and you have to look at, TV series, you have to look at movies, you have to look at books.
Yeah.
Like there's violence all around us. Turn on CNN or whatever media you choose to watch about what's going on in the world, and you will see violence, right? So it's a level by which we educate the kids or whoever about consuming that media, right? Like being like, hey, if you are having weird thoughts, if you are feeling isolated, if you are getting bullied, here are resources. And it's not always resorting to violence to fix how you feel, right? It's an emotional response. And I definitely do believe that some people are more predisposed based on what happened to them in their life, right? Their traumas, their life experience, they will be predisposed to violence. But it's not just game violence, it's violence from anywhere. And that can influence you in many ways. So yeah, it just sucks that games are always a target because the reality is that there are some movies out there in series who are just as bad, if not worse, than games. And that form of media is not getting targeted. And I always wonder why. Like, why is it? Is it the fact that, I don't know, TV and films are participatory and you just sit there and like digest the content instead of actively being like pressing buttons to do the things, right?
Do you think
And
that
like,
makes
Wasn't
a
that worse
difference?
though?
Elaine, do you think it makes a difference because you are controlling the character? I never thought that it really did. I think that there's no real difference, but that's my personal point of view.
Yeah, I have no idea. To be honest, I'm not a psychologist. I don't have expertise in that. But like I said, I do believe that certain people, based on their life and their trauma, they are predisposed to it. Somebody who's not emotionally stable, and who has lived, through abuse or violence in their home, they will be a lot number to that, right? And perhaps they won't see harming another person as bad because they have been living through it. And I can say that because I watch a lot of like those crime videos on YouTube and like crime podcasts, and like to me it's like very interesting how the human mind works. Yeah, so like I
She's
have
one of those
read.
ladies. She'll
Yes.
know how to kill you and get away with it.
I
Oh,
notice
no.
a lot of. Is this a thing where I notice a lot of ladies love watching these crime like shows like that?
Yes.
I love
noticed
them.
that.
I love them
I
as
think.
well.
Oh, okay. Oh, you trying to fit in, huh, Risk? Okay.
I love them as well. What are you saying?
I think
I really do.
it's interesting. It's definitely interesting, and it's not me like being like a masochist and enjoying like people like getting hurt.
Right.
To me, the interesting part to me is like, wow, like the journey that was taken by people to figure out and piece together the problem solving that goes through figuring out what happened and finding the person. Like to me, the human mind is incredible at like
I hear you.
putting puzzle pieces together. And
Definitely.
to me, it's like, whoa, like I can't even imagine going through that process and having to see things that you are etched in your brain forever.
I
But
love
yeah,
the psychological aspect of those
Do you
shows
take-
as well. I
Yeah.
think it teaches us a lot.
I take it
Yeah,
then,
yeah.
Jula, that you like mysteries and stuff like that. Is that true?
Oh yeah. I love
See,
and I
that's-
love
that's
horror
me.
games. I love horror movies. I love all that
Okay.
stuff. But I definitely can see like and I have experienced my friends. Like I have seen like my friends go through really hard stuff, and yeah, like they are predisposed to certain things. So yeah. I think games can be a catalyst. Like, don't get me wrong. I don't think they're completely immune from not having an influence on somebody. But I
Right.
think if you get it has to be like the right person at the right time of their life who has been through all this stuff. The game that they're playing or the movie that they're watching, the songs that they're listening to, it will get to them. And it may do something. You know what I mean? But it has to be like a specific like concoction of multiple things, not just
Yeah.
one. It's a
And I
lot.
think that these people are
perfect storm.
predisposed to
Yeah.
this, because if they already have some kind of psychological issue. I
Mhm.
don't think that it's a game specific problem.
Yeah, and that's why
I agree.
That's why we consume media. We consume media because it makes us feel a way, or makes us laugh, or makes us sad, or keeps us interested. That's why you consume media. So to say that it doesn't have any effect is obviously not true. But then I think it's really got to do with the person consuming the media. Look, we'll move on to our
before we move.
Mhm.
Because I want to ask Chula one thing, game related as well. For that, when your own games that you're creating and stuff and such, have you ever come to a issue like with the subject matter that made you uncomfortable in creating that type of game, where you said, "Hey, I'm not for this. I think this needs to change," or I'm not. You're uncomfortable with maybe how you relate to it in your daily life. Has it ever conflicted with anything?
Yes. So I worked on a game called Beyond Blue, and it's a game about the ocean. It was in partnership with BBC, so it's supposed to be about Blue Planet and like saving the whales and like all this stuff. It's supposed to be like more lighthearted, but a leadership decision was made to add some tough themes to the narrative of that game. So it touched upon like Alzheimer's, having to deal with like a grandmother who is like just fading out, and then having a sister who's like very rebellious, and just it didn't make sense for the type of game that we were making, but the decision was made by leadership to do that, and it felt very uncomfortable at times to be in there implementing all the dialogue and like putting things together that, oh, if you choose this dialogue then it branches out to this, and that made me uncomfortable because I felt that those tough subject matters that people are really dealing with in real life, you can't glaze over stuff like that. If you really are going to talk about it, you should do it a service, and go a little bit deeper than just superficial. So that's the only time that I have developed something where I'm just like, I really don't want to be in the nitty gritty here, like putting the logic together to make these choices like happen when it doesn't matter. Like in our game, it was the illusion, what we call the illusion of choice. You think that you're making a choice that will affect something, but the reality is that it's not going to do anything. So that made me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I've also played yes.
Okay.
When you mentioned Beyond Blue, Elaine, just due to the conversation we're having, there is help out there. Beyond Blue is a fantastic place that you can call up at any time in Australia if you're having any issues, and I'm sure there's something similar in America. So yeah, if you are having problems, reach out, guys. There's no shame in it.
Yes. And we found out about that name after the name was chosen for our game. So we had no idea.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
We're like, oops. We shouldn't
Nice.
have named it that.
Look, we'll move on to the next subject, which is very developer related. But before I do, guys, if you're just joining us, we have a developer, Elaine, letting us know, giving us the inside scoop on the industry and an inside view. So thank you for joining us. And guys in the chat, you're all amazing. See you every week. And guys that are new joining us, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, share it out. We'll move to the next topic. I've jumped a few topics, guys, on the panel here, just because I want to keep it to subjects that Elaine could have a bit of an inside take on. And so we'll go straight to the Knights of the Old Republic. It has been delayed indefinitely. The art and design directors was sacked, and I did a little bit of reading on this and a little bit of talking about this with a few people. And from what I can kind of gather and just the information that's given, it sounds very much like they've taken a vertical slice of the game after being in development for quite some time. They brought it to LucasArts and some, I'm thinking subscribers, investors, and Sony, and they were told basically to scrap it. And the word on the street is that for what they delivered for the cost was astronomical, and the vertical slice just did not reflect the cost of what they developed. And as a result of that, they have let go an art director and a design director. Design directors, as I understand it, are very important in the makeup of a development studio. Elaine, as an inside take, you know, do you think that that this is a bit of a common practice thing where people maybe overrun the cost, they underscope things, or do you think that things get put on lead designers, lead directors, or any kind of lead that maybe shouldn't and could be the fault of others?
Yes and no, to be honest, because when it comes to directions like that, it's not just the design directors or the art directors. It's a step above that. So it's really difficult. Let me tell you that. But when you are giving an X amount of money, let's say you were giving, here's $5 million to make a vertical slice, and you are expected to do XYZ, and we expect you to deliver that, often you will do all right because there are expectations set in place and there's milestones involved when you get into that vertical slice, right? So when you have a big publisher, like let's say every once a month, you have a big meeting with these publisher people, all the people that are writing those checks for you, and you go in and like, hey, this is what we have so far. We have delivered on the list of things that you asked us to deliver, and if we're not delivering that or we're not getting to your expectations, what is it that we need to do to switch things around, right? So I don't know what happened in their process, but it sounds like they overscoped, and that is a huge issue, normal issue that happens all over the industry, no matter how big or how small of a studio you have. You want to deliver big, and when you say Star Wars, there are some expectations with that IP, right? And that's a big community. So I would want to say I don't work there and I don't know what happened, but I have a feeling that they just bit off more than they could chew. And when it came down to the wire, they just did not have what they needed to meet the expectations. And that's why they sacked everybody. But it sucks on the art and design director specifically because it's not their fault, right? It was a team decision. So it wasn't based off of two people. I'm sure more than that were involved in the decisions that led to this. So it kind of sucks that it fell on those two people.
Yeah.
Elaine,
yeah.
you said that really nicely. You said that the game was bad, and they just scrapped it. But you said it in a really nice way.
Yeah, I mean, not meeting expectations is a big deal, right?
Yeah.
And imagine if somebody's writing you a check for millions of dollars and they say,
Yeah.
hey, I want this and that, and you don't do this and that. Why should they hand you another check to keep working on it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
So you have to think about that, yeah.
Saying that,
But
Elaine, why
that
did they
sucks.
pick Aspire then, that have never delivered a AAA game before? If expectations for that game were
Yeah.
so large, and they should have been.
But isn't
It's
it a
Star
bid?
Wars franchise?
Isn't it a bid? Like they'll put we want to make
That's
this
another
game.
great question for Elaine. Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, so how game decisions are made it depends on the company. If you're indie, you can come up with a pitch sometimes and pitch it to however many
right.
companies. But oftentimes, bigger companies have like an idea and they'll shop around for a studio to make that. And I have seen that happen before. So this may have been the case where they took a risk, and they thought it was going to work out, but it was a risk, and maybe they knew that, and it just ended not going well. But for folks that do not know, like out there in the community, like projects get sacked all the time. Like that's actually very, very common. I know of projects that are only in development for a year or a year and a half, and they just don't meet expectation, and they cancel the entire project, and they lay off the whole team, and they start new. And that happens quite often.
I think what's different about this, and a little bit different about KOTOR though, is that it was a massive game back in its day, and they didn't come out and just quietly announce it. They came out with the fanfare, the short teaser, and they were like laying it down hard. And then this happens. And I find it kind of a bit weird. And here's another question for you. And I do have a question coming from the chat as well. And Palpatine, I will ask that question just after I've gone to the panel. My other question is Is it often that studios will announce a game when it's just not ready and put together a teaser trailer when there's been nothing done for the game and it's barely been even scoped?
Sometimes that happens, yeah. But like we saw it in Anthem, that they scrambled to make all this stuff for a trailer, and it wasn't actual real gameplay. They made something to be cinematic and be shown off, and we saw like the mess of that whole development team and how they like swapped
Anthem.
out direction, and it was
It was
wild. So, and again, I want to say too, just because a studio has been successful in the past or have had a successful game does not mean that they can do it again. Right?
Well, like you said,
BioWare is
the
a
team's
perfect
changed.
example of crunch, wasn't it, Elaine? And that's what you were talking
Mhm.
about before. They are notorious for
Yeah.
cramming a lot of work into a very short
Oh,
period
yeah.
of time, right at the end of development.
100%, yeah. I mean, so right now at Brassline Entertainment, the studio that I'm at, our 3 founders have been in AAA for 15 plus years, so they have experienced a lot. And my direct lead, his name's Mambir Air, he got a lot of flack like on social media a long time ago for being very vocal about political things and stuff like that. But he told me that when he was working on Andromeda, that the crunch was so bad that he had like a complete like breakdown, like almost psychotic breakdown. He like lost his hair, like it was wild. Some of the things that people have gone through for during crunch is insane. Take a toll on their bodies. My design director now, he came from a big AAA, and he came out of a big project that went okay, but he has high blood pressure now due to like all like the crunch and all that stuff that he had to go through, really stressful situations.
If you had
Where
a choice, Elaine, would you
Yeah.
work on a small indie game or a big AAA title?
If I had a choice, it doesn't matter to me. The budget to me doesn't matter, AAA or indie. What matters to me is to connect with the project, right? Because if I connect with it, I'll do a good job. If I don't connect with it and I don't understand it, I won't do a good job. So it doesn't matter to me, big or small, but it does matter to me the practices and the environment by which I am working. So if you expect me to overwork, I will quit because I cannot thrive in that environment, and neither is it sustainable to make a game like that. Like I have watched my previous studio, our entire team like quit slowly over the period of a year and a half because they just couldn't do it. They couldn't crunch, and they couldn't continue with a lack of direction when things get changed every 6 months or so, and you change the direction of the game, and then you start changing features, and like more things get delayed, and it's just not sustainable way of making a game or making any form of media in that way. So if I
Good
had
for
a
you for
choice, it
putting those
doesn't matter.
boundaries in. Good
Yes.
for you for putting boundaries. It's so
Thank you.
difficult. Well, that's in any job really, and also as a
Yeah.
female as well, because we already feel like we're on the back foot and we want to show that we're hardworking
Yeah.
and all that stuff. So yeah, but good for you.
It's not easy because you want to do what you love and you want to
Yeah.
get paid for it. And the hard part is overworking and not getting paid for it. It's like I still need to pay my rent. I still need to pay my student loans. Like all of my life and everything in my personal life doesn't go away because I work at your company. You know what I mean? So when companies realize that, hey, if your personal life, if you're doing well, if you're healthy, you become an asset to us, right? And that's how game companies, and I'm starting to see this change a lot because of COVID, where they are approving remote locations all over the United States, right? So now you can look more broadly. A great developer in Boston can work for a studio in California now, and have the option of having benefits and all this stuff, because it doesn't matter if I live in California. I can still work for Sony Santa Monica, or I can work for like Riot Games, and I can still work remotely and have the benefits that I need. But I think it's starting to change now more with like the pandemic. It has shown the industry a lot of things that I think a lot of people were very resistant against, and that includes having a good work-life balance. Like right now, I'm only working Monday through Thursday. I don't work on Fridays at Brass Lion for this summer. we have adopted a 4-day work week. Now,
Lovely.
yes, it's hard though because in your
Yeah.
in your mind now you think I have to do Friday's work during Monday through Thursday. So I have to tack on 2 extra
Yeah.
hours every day. And that's not the case at all. Like you just plan it out so that you do what you got to do within those 4 days. And if you can't, roll it over to the next sprint because that's production. But we're not the only company that's doing that. Other companies are doing that too.
It's really good to see. And look, I've got a couple of questions in the chat, and what you were saying, I think is not just happening in game development, but I think in companies in all sectors. My partner, she works at a services provider, and they've rolled over to a shorter week. Not in days, but in hours, and they're doing a lot of from home work, and I think it's really a really good thing to see. Unfortunately, in my industry, that's not possible. But I would like to do a couple of days at home. I think that's something that companies should offer, and it would be a really good thing to see. If people want that, just throughout, giving them time to do these things at home. And a shorter work week. One of the questions we got from the chat is Palpatine. Knowing there isn't a single answer, but what kind of thinking goes into how to monetize a game and whether to include it at all?
Oof. That is a hard one. So again, like I said, this is all comes from leadership. So people think that the developers make all the decisions. The CEOs and the creative directors and stuff, they make those decisions first. And if there is if there is a check giver, like a publisher or like venture capital or some type of investor, then their opinion on those things weighs the heaviest. So monetization, it depends. So if it's a live ops game, if it's a multiplayer game or something like that, it's already a given. So we do have roles like a monetization designer or economy designers. Those game design roles are pretty new in the industry, and people often have backgrounds in like economy or business, things like that, where they can understand numbers a little bit better. But the people who make the decisions, executives, and then it trickles down. And then as developers, we try to figure out how to best implement those things. Sometimes and oftentimes is very predatory, which is like, what is it that we can do to really hook you in and make you want to continue to spend money? Sometimes that's the case, and it's unfortunate. And some companies are notorious for thinking that way. And other companies,
Battlefront's perfect example.
yeah. I mean, like Fortnite is fantastic at it because it's like I'm hooking you, but it's cosmetic. You don't really need it, but you sure want it.
But I do, Elaine. I do need it. I need to be.
And that's how they get people. And it's, I mean, internally.
What are we going to do without our cat ears and Halo?
Yeah,
right. Exactly.
It's
I can't be fun.
It's smart design, but predatory in some ways. Some people are trying to really figure out better ways of doing that, like making you feel connected and making you want to spend it because you think that it's worth it, and you want it to express yourself as a player, right? So I think there's good and bad ways of implementing it. But this is a leadership decision. Monetization comes from leadership decisions. For what the game is supposed to be.
Look, I kind of have a question on that. Do developers kick back on monetization, and do you ever just straight out come to the management and say, listen, what you're charging here for these particular items or this specific set of grouping of items, it's too much, and the way that we're implementing it is predatory, and I don't like it. Do you have a space to say these sort of things?
Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. More often than not, I'm willing to bet. I don't work at big companies that do like crazy monetization stuff, but I'm willing to bet that a lot of those numbers are hidden from the development team, and only leadership can see those numbers. You only know the data that comes out of it. Oh, like our player base really likes cat ears. Let's figure out how to make more of those. Like we get that type of data. We don't get we're charging $2.99 and $5.99 or $9.99 for whatever. We don't get that data. So it's hard to say. But we, at least in my company, I have the platform and the space to say, hey, I don't like the way that this design is going towards. Can we talk about it as a design team, or can we talk about it with leadership. Sometimes it's yes, let's have a talk. Sometimes it's the decision has been made, and I'm sorry that you don't like it as much, but you're gonna have to roll with it. And I'm sure that's often the latter is often the case at these bigger companies where the hierarchy is a lot harder to infiltrate. Because the top-down thing is serious. Like when executive meetings are placed, like you don't hear about all the decisions maybe till days after the decision has been made, because it's like hundreds of people that information comes down on, and you only get like a little piece of that information.
Look, I'll jump to the panel on this topic in 2 seconds because I have another question from the chat. Hargeek Channy, how you doing? Great friend of the show. He said, Microsoft has decided against crunch, which perhaps extends dev time. Many times I hear that crunch is normal and shouldn't be an issue. As a developer, do you think that the Xbox way can work? I'll preface that as well, Elaine, and say that there's a lot of talk from fans, really, us, the people who don't really know. Postulating about that management is maybe too light, and we have heard rumors from developers, too light, not heavy-handed enough, and not direct enough with developers, and basically letting the studios have too much free reign. And we can see with 2022, I mean, there's been a couple of things that have affected Microsoft's games outside of management, like the war in Ukraine affected Stalker and a few other games as well that aren't obviously going to be released this year because they couldn't be developed, and that's out of their hands. But with a lot of other games that were slated for 2022 have been delayed, like Redfall, Starfield, and do you think that that Microsoft's their laid back approach is possibly not the way to go? They need to find a happy medium, or do you think that that would be a good way to work?
I don't know what to say because I don't know what is freeform and what is strict to folks and what their perception of what goes. Like it's very subjective, right? What you think is hands off or what you think is strict may not be my definition of what those things are. So it's hard to say what they're doing behind the scenes to do things or not. I can say though, we're still in a pandemic. Like games are being developed remotely. The economy of the United States is not great. And we also need to factor all those things in that are external to making the game that make the game studio suffer, like every other industry in the world, right? So let's not forget about that first, right? But second of all, I don't know how Microsoft does their deals and how they handle their studios. I have no idea. But I'm sure that as a studio, if I owned a studio, I would want my studio to have ownership and have the ability to make decisions about my game and whether or not I need to extend it to make the best game that I can make. And issues happen, like we have seen with other games, or they are delivered at a deadline where they were promised, and then they're buggy and people are upset anyway. So it's like, what is it that you want? Do you want things to be delivered on time with bugs, or do you want things to be extended and have the ability for people to still live and be healthy and make the game that you want to play without having a crap ton of bugs and issues? So it's just like give and take, right? So yeah. As a developer, I never understand why people would get upset that we're trying to do our best work and things get pushed. Because if I don't do my best work and I release it too early, then you're going to be sad. So either way, you're going to be mad at me. So I would rather you be mad at me and my work be good than be mad at me and my work be crap. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is a bit of a tightrope walking thing that you guys do. And I kind of do. I feel for devs, like you are damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. But at the end of the day,
we can't do anything right.
You're absolutely right, though. I think most people who are sane would rather wait an extra year, 2 years, 3 years, and have the game come out, be complete, finished, and a good experience than to have had to wait an extra year and then it come out and it's not the complete experience. So I mean, I think that devs are getting that message from gamers, and I hope that that's getting through, even with all the absolute ridiculousness that we do see happening with fans. Look, I'm going to ask you, Elaine, do you need to get out of here because it has been about an hour?
Yes.
If you do, absolutely, that's fine. Well, look, I just wanted to thank you for coming on the show. You've been absolutely amazing in your takes and your insight.
Thank you for having me.
It's invaluable, absolutely invaluable. Do you just want to let everyone know where they can find you and what you'll be up to with your gaming, what you're playing?
Don't leave us, Chula. Don't leave us, Chula.
Oh my
Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, just let everyone know.
Y'all can find me. You all can find me on Twitter. That's really where I'm most active. My Twitter handle is Chulatastic, and I usually talk quite a bit about what's going on in industry sometimes, if something really upset about. But I share a lot of indie game content that perhaps people may not see, and also just internal game things like shader work or stuff that people often don't see, right? I try to share that and not be too political because, I'm not here to expose all that stuff. I'm here. My Twitter is more professional than it is personal. So
yeah, I did a little bit of stalking before you came on, and I was like, you know what? You have a great vibe and a great presence, and it's been really lovely having you.
Thank you so much, y'all.
Absolutely.
I appreciate
Thank you for
it.
coming.
Enjoy the rest
so much,
of
Elaine.
your time.
Just let us know what your husband's game is again, so everyone can go out and buy it.
Their game is called Bounty Star. I think it's slated to come 2023, but they have been working very hard on it.
It's coming to Game Pass too, I believe, right? Bounty Star?
Yes.
Yeah,
It's coming to Game
That's
Pass.
perfect. That's perfect because, as you know, Xbox gamers don't buy games, as we've been told. So.
Yeah. They're coming there, and I think they're being released on PlayStation as well. That's before I go. That's one of the things that I don't understand is like the platform wars in the community. Because for us as developers, it's like, well, what can I do for as many people as possible to play the game that I worked really hard on? So it's like, yes, I want it to be on PlayStation, I want it to be on Xbox, I want it to be on PC, and if I can port it to Switch, do that too. And we see it as like an ecosystem where it's accessible to the more people, the better. But some people out here really be fighting for specific platforms, and I'm here like, I have all of them. Like I own every single platform, and I'll play all the games because to me, it's like I want to try it all.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm the same here. I think it's all a little bit of fun, those console wars. And I do have Bounty Star up on the screen, and it was one of the standouts of the Annapurna showcase. So, look that up afterwards. But yeah, I think it should just be an enjoyable, having a laugh, like your team versus my team. And unfortunately, things get a little bit too serious, but,
sometimes it does.
Yeah.
Over here in the back end, we're like, wow, this is wild.
They're very precious about their plastic boxes. You know this.
They are indeed.
All right, let the poor woman go. Let her go.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Thank you for having us.
Chula, before you go, Chula,
oh my God.
Do you play Halo perchance? Chula?
I do not. No, that's one of the games that I do not play.
Okay, we're gonna have to block you now, unfortunately. I'm just playing.
Sorry.
Well, we gotta add you to Xbox. I almost said Elaine, but I'm gonna stick to Chula. I'll let the Australians who butcher your name use Elaine. Chula, if you get a chance, add me on Xbox. Superhavoc. That's SUPERHAVOC. Sometimes we have our community game nights, and I would love for you to join us sometime.
Oh, that would be fun.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm JediKnightPete everywhere.
Oh my God! Just DM her. Just DM her. After.
Yeah, just DM me all the gamer tags.
Thank you very much.
Hateration.
And we will let you go. Jump out before they try to ask you another question.
Bye.
See you later.
Okay, she's never coming back now, guys.
Yeah,
guys, honestly.
Right now,
Cutie just wanted to block her. You see this, Pete?
I'm
trying to get
like,
we're trying to add new friends, and she's like, nah.
No. My thirst detector was on point then. All right.
Let's get back on track, ladies and gentlemen. Let's move to what we were talking about, which is the KOTOR delay. You guys know what happened. You know that they sent a vertical slice to Lucasfilm and some of the investors and Sony. And then we know that they lost their design directors. Umbra, I'll go to you. What do you think's going on here? Do you think that this bodes well for the game? It's been indefinitely delayed. Do you think they're going to be able to bounce back? We know that Aspire doesn't usually make massive AAA games, and this is their first foray, and it's a bit of a big one to go into. So what's your thoughts?
It's crazy because when we first heard about Aspire and the KOTOR situation, myself, I was like, this is a slap to the face of Xbox gamers for it to be exclusive, timed exclusive, or whatever it is to PlayStation. And I still feel that way, don't get me wrong. But it's crazy when you look at it now because in hindsight, because maybe Microsoft saw something we didn't see and we're like, nah, we're good. We'll let you go ahead and have Sony pay for that exclusivity for now. And, and we'll wait for it to come back around when it's that time, maybe 6 months to a year out. I'm guessing a year, knowing Sony. But yeah, man, it's unfortunate and indefinitely just doesn't sound good, right? Like, I mean, it just sounds terrible when you hear it that way. For all we know, of course, that could just be a year. That could be 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we don't know how long that is, and it's just a key word to use to say they don't know how long it'll be. But Aspire hasn't really done anything else that's noteworthy, as you said. So it's like, what do you have to fall on to say, oh, they'll bounce back? I don't know.
Look,
I
I hope it doesn't take too long.
I
And
hope not either. Games that they worked on, though, I know they've all been like support studios for, and they do have some great games in their catalog that they've helped co-create. So I don't want to write them off either. I'm sure they have capable people there, but it could be a number of issues that led them to this situation, and I'm just not sure what it is. It just seems like in this case, out of all things, at least, Microsoft was fortunate to dodge this one incident where it seems like everything else they keep getting from delays and everything else, it just seems to keep happening on Xbox side of things, except this. So that's funny when I think about it, but I don't know how long it'll go. I don't know how long it'll go for, rather, and I don't know how much trust to give Aspire on making up for this and getting a good game out. I don't want to throw salt on it, so we'll see. And I guess if we hear anything else negative, we'll go from there. One thing we did hear, I think, Jedi, wasn't it something about the case where they brought in a lead writer who people were worried they would change the story and such in a negative way?
Yeah, they hired Sam Maggs, who is on record saying that she disliked Coda, the original Coda, and she is for a better term, SJW. I mean, she's self-proclaimed. So if you go to her Twitter handle, she says that she's an SJW warrior. And when they did hire her, they got a lot of pushback from the community just because people think, and I'm one of them that's included, that Coda is probably the best story told in the Star Wars universe outside of the original trilogy. It's perfect as is, does not need to be changed in any way, and there was a lot of pushback for that. She
know
has
you
since
had a
left the
degree in
project.
Star Wars, P. Is that like an official degree that you can get? Or?
Well, if I
Star
can
Wars
get a job in
storytelling.
Industrial Light and Magic, I'm there. I'll be leaving this podcast so quick.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, S guest said something interesting. He says he wonders if they underestimated the depth of primetime BioWare title.
That's, you know what, that could be a thing, Aspire, this is probably the biggest thing that they've ever handled, so
Yeah.
potentially,
And
they did
paused.
they did underperform, and like Elaine said before, they have their checkpoints, they have their milestones that they have to meet, and potentially they just didn't meet this, and it's sad, but and she said it herself, these teams, they get scrapped all the time, and it just so happens that on these big titles we hear it the most, and I guess they have more accountability to the fans to report on this sort of thing. And that's the only reason why it's ever a big
They get
deal.
stopped a lot, but not a game that's already got a whole story told. I mean, all you need to do is really update the gameplay, and you've got gold on your hands there. I know Risket was talking to me in the green room before about the cost of this vertical slice that they put forward to Sony was exorbitant for what it actually was. Yeah, I mean, by no means did it meet the demands that they were asking for how much did it cost, and I think that had a lot to do with it as well. The art director getting fired is not a big deal. The design director, on the other hand, that is a huge problem. I mean, that is a big deal in any game. The design director basically he puts the whole design forward of the game. everything about it. So it says to me that they're basically starting all over again. And I don't know if this game can survive it. I mean, I don't want it to go the way of Star Wars 1313. That game looked amazing, and we actually never got to play it. I really, for one, want to play a KOTOR remake. I love that game. So yeah, it is a shame, and I
Yeah.
do hope that it can, we can still get a game out of it.
It's interesting. I see some people, like our good brother Boba, is saying that he feels like
Oh,
this is
spicy
another.
take.
Yeah, he sees this as another scale-bound situation. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I mean, this is what I'm hoping against hope against. But I can definitely see that happening. I mean, from what we've heard so far, they've pushed it back to at least 2025. Means they're starting all over again. I can definitely see it being cancelled altogether.
Well, there are a lot of delays, and we've seen that with 40K Darktide. How do you guys feel about that?
Yeah,
That's only
very
been delayed
interesting.
a month, 2 months, so it's not the biggest thing.
No,
Well, they didn't
but
say.
it-
They didn't say. They didn't say. They said shortly after, so we don't know
Well,
exactly.
I thought they
It
said
could
November.
be.
Yeah, so if you
well-
look on the Steam store, it has a planned release for November,
Right.
and that's
Wow.
literally the wording. So it's not even an official date. And on my press release that I wrote up yesterday, they actually had this game in production since 2020. So it's
Delay season is upon.
I'm not that-
I
upon
know.
us.
I'm not that concerned for Darktide because a lot of the people in the community have played it. Skill Up is a video that I would direct you guys to. I
Oh,
trust
yeah,
Skill
he
Up. I think
did.
he's excellent.
Good point.
And he's played through a large portion of the game, I think a couple of
Yeah.
levels, and he said that it's basically almost there. So I don't think the delay of Darktide can, you can kind of merge those two together. I think they're entirely different beasts.
So the interesting thing is, I see some people. I see Risk, and I see. It looks like Gray. They're talking about it's supposed to be November 30th, but that's just for the PC part. That's not
Yeah,
for
that's
the
that's
Xbox.
correct. That's
Exactly. So we don't know how long it'll be, and if that's November 30th, there's a good chance that this might slip into 2023 for
Yeah.
us on Xbox side. So we don't know. I will say it's only a few months. It just sounds terrible optic wise, right? It's like, oh, that's
Yeah.
another one delayed until 2023. That's what it sounds like. At least it could be the case. But I'll say, like I said, on any game that's delayed, it's better you delay it and get it right, and instead of rushing it out there or putting it out there some unfinished product or something like that. So I still will, like any game, I'll feel disappointed that it's missing that, what we thought would be the launch date. But I would prefer them to get whatever they need to get out right, or whatever's causing it issues before they
Yeah.
release it to us. So I'm all for
I was
that.
on-
It
I was
just,
on the
it just
Gamers
seems like
Initiative
it's
podcast, and
Yeah.
Boba pointed out that it's easier to list the games that haven't been delayed than to list the games that have.
Yeah,
Damn.
That's
true.
how
That's a
numerous
good
they are
point.
now. Crazy.
That's a good point, especially on the Xbox side. It seems like, damn, we can't catch a break.
Well, it's
It's
very.
but you know
it's,
what?
it's kind of interesting that though that it's coming to PC beforehand, and your point, Pete, with Skill Up playing a slice of the game that was on PC as well. So maybe they are
Yeah.
having issues with the hardware on the Xbox, getting it to basically fit in there. But also, I think you have to remember that it's not VRS, is it? Yeah, it's VRS was just updated to 2.0. Super resolution, sorry, not VRS. Super resolution was just updated to 2.0, and maybe they've just gone back and they've decided to implement that to get higher frame rates on the Xbox, and that's why the development's
FSR,
taking a little
is that
bit.
what you're talking about?
FSR, yeah, super resolution. That's why they're maybe taking a little bit longer. They're just implementing some of these tools that they didn't have available to them, and as they did say, AMD itself said it. It's for most games, it only takes around about a month to implement that into the game, and that seems like a pretty viable, feasible, possible. That may be what's happening. They might be putting some of these tools into the Xbox itself.
Good point, mate.
Yeah. Hargeet said, he says, wait until we get all the delays in 2023 to 2024. Game development hasn't really recovered. Yeah. Let's pray that's not the case. I'm hoping that for a better 2023.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
We headed
Look,
to
I'm
22 for gaming.
also hoping they start to focus. I'll move on to the next topic. Before we do move on to the next topic, it's just more of a couple of comments on this one that I found. I found it a little annoying. But look, before we do, please hit the like button, guys. Subscribe if you're new here. Look, share us out. We had royalty in the chat before, Colt Eastwood, but I didn't get a chance to say hello because I really just wanted to talk to Elaine about, once you get a developer on the show, it's really interesting to get their take, and I think it's important for us.
He misspoke. You misspoke, Risk. We have nothing but royalty with all of you all here watching and supporting us right now.
Absolutely.
Well, I know I'm a queen.
Absolutely.
But
I'm also
I am a king.
I'm also a queen.
And I am
We
a
all know
king.
Risk it's a queen. Oh,
Yeah,
shit.
there you
Sorry.
go. I was just getting in there before anyone else
I like
did.
the group queen.
But look, Xbox has implemented some updates to the Xbox, and I think it's one that we didn't need, didn't care about. I mean, it's cool, but what they've done is the Xbox consoles now reboot 5 seconds quicker. And Pete did say this to me, and I've seen this on Twitter as well. And I have, again, explained this. So a lot of people said, they just shortened the cutscene. That cutscene coming into the console is there to give you something to look at while the system boots, right? So it's not just shortening a cutscene. There's a lot going on in the background to get the console to boot and have it ready to go, UI loading, all sorts of things going on in the background. And the cutscene is as long as it is because that's how long it takes to boot the console. The cutscene is now shorter because the console boots a lot quicker, which is great. That's lovely. Don't care about it though. It already booted really, really quickly anyway.
Cool story, Xbox.
So yeah, it's pretty much one of those. But there's heaps of other issues, and I was having an issue yesterday with a game that they've just released in Game Pass. And guys, if you haven't played it, I think you need to jump on it. They're very quiet about launching it, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. Inside. Now, none of my achievements have popped on Inside. That's annoying. I am in the Insider program, but it does happen to people who aren't in the Insider program. There's a lot of UI issues that Xbox need to be focusing on that they are just not focusing, nor are they talking about. That's me teabagging someone right there. Loving it.
I know.
Look,
I think that was me.
That was you, yeah.
Unfortunately.
There's a lot of
You love
teabagging
it.
going on in this. Love it.
A lot
get
of
you
these
back. You best
problems
believe
have
it.
been exacerbated after I joined the Halo Infinite Flight, and I am going to leave the Insider program after I stop playing that. I've been having the same thing. I was playing Multiverse yesterday, and none of my achievements were popping. Yeah,
Are you sure it's because you just didn't get
becoming a bit of
any?
a joke.
Yeah, well, it's other things as well. It's like so for DoomCutie. I don't know.
I got 7, thank you.
I don't know if you've had a play with the PlayStation 5's DVR, but it's phenomenal. It's one of the best.
Yeah.
It's the best
No,
DVR.
it's beautiful.
It's amazing.
I love it. Yeah.
Everything that works that way in the PlayStation 5's UI is for the PlayStation 5. We've got an Xbox One UI, which is fine to have the setup, but it's still running a back compat UI on the Series X, and I think it's something that they need to damn well work on and speak to us about. I want to hear how they're fixing these damn issues. I am an insider and I don't get feedback, and that's a bit of an issue for me. I think as an insider, if you're taking the time to report problems, you're taking the time to be in the betas, I think you should be getting feedback on what they're doing. At least specific blogs for insiders. They do have a small amount, but to me, it's just not enough. No, Hargeet, I hadn't played Inside because I'm not.
I said the same thing to him yesterday, mate.
I'm not big on buying indies, mate. I won't usually buy an indie. I'll wait till they come to Game Pass. Has anyone got anything else they want to add on the UI? It's just a little bit of a bugbear of mine, and seeing as I've got a show.
On the UI
platform.
situation.
Yeah.
Oh, well, Xbox has a long way to go when it comes to that. I mean, we have so many issues with it, even if outside of the insider situation.
Exactly.
It's just a matter of the DVR situation and UI in general. It's slow and unresponsive and responsive. And if you push the guide button to, interrupt anything you're going when you're playing a game, it's a little small delay. It's all around annoying. They need to really get that in order. It's actually shocking that it's taking this long to get it together. And I've played on I have a PlayStation 5, so I played on it. Their UI is way better in handling that as far as that.
Causes a big problem as well, doesn't it, Umbra?
Yeah, absolutely. And with the DVR situation, it's like night and day. And this should not be the case. It's actually, like I said, startling a little bit that Xbox is so far behind when it comes to the DVR situation compared when they have everything else, it seems like, correct when it comes to the ecosystem. This is just one area right here where they fail completely. I shared a few screenshots from Stray that I beat the other day, and it was like Nothing. It was so easy. Did little recordings and all of that. Nothing, no problem. Try to do that on Xbox, your game will pause on you. It'll get only so much that you gotta change your HDR setting to SDR to get a good quality visual. Now, the one negative on the PlayStation side when it comes to that is if you have to manually do that every time for them to get a proper image when it comes to those types of things. But on the Xbox
Crazy
side,
thing is, Umbra,
yeah.
is Microsoft is predominantly a software company. All these issues shouldn't really be there. I mean,
I
this is their
agree.
bread and
I
butter.
agree with you. I agree. It's I don't know what's going on there in that situation. That the DVR situation, the UI situation, and even achievements. It's things that they really need to address that feels like they're delaying getting on to me. Yep. So I guess
Sorry about
Risk,
that.
you highlighted Spyro. Yeah, sometimes with the preview program, you need to sign out, then back into the power startup to avoid the issue with notifications not popping.
Yeah, I had my mic muted, and I was
fixed.
just I was actually just responding to that in the chat, but I'll just do it verbally. Yeah, look, I have soft, hard, and cold rebooted the console. Still not popping, mate. So it's just you shouldn't have to do that. It should be seamless. It should just work. As they love saying it, it just works.
I agree.
And it should just work. And it's something they need to focus on. And I frankly couldn't give a shit about my console booting 5 seconds quicker. What I do give a shit about is my achievements popping, the UI just working, not having problems with party chats. Look, bringing Discord to Xbox is great. I did actually get a chance to try it out because it has come to the beta insider, which is what I'm in. Look, it's okay, but fix the party chat first. You have problems with people dropping in, dropping out, not connecting. Notifications not popping when someone invites you to a party. And this is not just off the insider program. This happens to other people. Frankly, I think more than it happens to me. I hear about it happening from a lot of my friends when they're like, "Oh, I didn't get the message, or I didn't get that notification, or the party invite's not coming through, and I've said it 3 times." It just needs to. They need to work on that UI. Stop worrying about the damn cold reboot. Start focusing on things that are important, in my opinion. And look, if it's something wrong with Xbox,
Hagi just asked you a question as well. Hagi asked you a question. Risk it.
Absolutely.
Hang on
a second. If there's something wrong with Xbox on this show, we're going to call it out. So this is just one of the things that I'm calling out. They need to fix. Sorry, Pete. What was his question? I can't seem to find
He
it.
wanted to know if Inside still holds up because it was Game of the Year 6 years ago when it first released. And he's just wondering if you think the game still holds up today.
Oh, yeah, it's an absolutely amazing game as far as I'm into it. I think I'm about 4 hours into it. I was playing it yesterday because it's just a nice, well, it's not chilled, but it's just a nice, easy game to play. I don't know if I sound super crook, but I am super, super crook at the moment. So it's just a nice, chilled out, nothing crazy. No one trying to smack me in the back or teabag me like these idiots. So look, moving on, I just want to jump on to the next topic. I want to keep the show moving because I may die halfway through. So I want to get it moving to at least 2 hours if I can. But before I do, please hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, share it out, let your friends know that we're here. We do have some amazing guests every week. And normally they can stay most of the day, but she's a very busy lady, so she had to go. Elaine was amazing and she had some very good takes. Microsoft's revenue was the second highest for a fourth quarter profit ever. Not really news unless you consider the fact that they don't have any goddamn games. 2022 has been completely light. That's something that we've been talking about. And Microsoft's revenue is the second highest fourth quarter they've ever had. It's craziness, absolute craziness that they can pull off such high revenue when they really have no first party titles. And I think it just goes to the power of Game Pass. But when you think about the power of Game Pass, actually, excuse me, being sick. The Game Pass numbers are down. Services and all that sort of stuff is down. So really interesting.
No. Game Pass numbers offset the services. So the only way they were able to pull in so much money is because their Game Pass subscriber numbers actually increased and offset the services not being sold. And you mentioned first-party games there, Risk It. It wasn't just first-party games that weren't released. It was also third-party games. So for them to have their second biggest quarter ever, it's just phenomenal. And it just shows what a great place that Microsoft's in and Xbox is in at the moment.
Agreed.
$16.7 billion in net revenue. Amazing figures.
In contrast, you have PlayStation that lost 37% in stock. So that's pretty interesting right there.
Yeah, I was actually going to move to that next, but yes, you're absolutely right, Pete. It grew from services grew from 6% to 12%. Content revenue growth went down. So we're talking about first party and and third party games went down. And I look, we can absolutely fold in the fact that, look, this is a bit more of a nuanced topic. The Sony's profit taking a bit of a hit, like a substantial hit. That's a hit that if you're an investor, you're like, oh, I don't like seeing these numbers. They took a 36% hit on their profit, their operating profit year over year, which is absolutely huge. The revenue decreased by 2% as well. Now, only the revenue decreasing by 2% says to me, and I'll go to the panel on this one in a second, the revenue decreasing by 2% says to me that their profits decreased by 37% because they are putting more money into games. You've got to remember that the deal just went through to purchase Bungie as well. So there's a lot of factors being involved here. It could possibly be
the main reason that
got something on that with
down,
Bungie though.
Right. The main reason it went down is because during the pandemic, everybody was home. I mean, everything went up from subscription services to gaming to everything, and so
but that doesn't cover the profit, Pete. What you're talking about there is a revenue decrease. No, it doesn't cover the profit. The revenue decrease is down by 2%. Their profit should be unless there's something going on in the background. Your profit going down shouldn't be going down by any more than 4%, max 8%. When you've got a revenue decrease of 2%, a 37% decrease in profit does not match the revenue decrease. It's got nothing to do with the pandemic.
Went ahead about 5 years in time if you ask all those analysts because of the pandemic, and so it's just a readjustment of where they should be at this point in time. Not to mention the fact that inflation is having a massive issue, as well as just the general economy. So I don't see it as a bad thing. I think it's just going back to where it actually needs to be. I don't see it as a problem at all for either Microsoft's case or Sony's case. What it says to me is Game Pass as a subscription is definitely the future because Microsoft and Xbox were able to offset a lot of those issues because their subscription service still grew.
But what you're talking about there is you're talking about revenue. You're not talking about profit. There's no reason that the profit, unless we're going to get into the nuanced reasons, I'll go to you, Umbra, in a second. Revenue decrease of 2% is expected, should be, for the reasons that you pointed out. Absolutely, you would have a revenue decrease, and Microsoft's had that as well. I think this was 4% last quarter. I'll have to have a look, but and that makes sense. But a profit decrease of 37% says that they are spending money on things within the business that's basically going into operating costs. That's got nothing to do with COVID or pandemics or anything to do with that. That's got to do with what they're spending their money on, because you're talking about profit.
Yeah, you're wrong, mate. I mean, I'm sorry, but the money allocated for, like Hargate says, that money would have already been allocated. It wouldn't have interfered with their profit whatsoever, mate.
No, I'm not saying that it is just the Bungie acquisition, mate. There's lots of other things they could be throwing money into. They could be setting up studios. They could be doing a lot of things in the background that's contributing to a profit decrease of 37%. You should not have a profit decrease of 37% if your revenue is decreased by 2%. That doesn't make any sense at all. Umbra, I'll go to you.
I think both of you are right in different ways. Pete, like he said, the whole advent of Game Pass is changing the landscape. That's not even a question anymore. And if you look at it, you remember how a lot of PlayStation guys were talking about the whole UK sale charts and physical. Digital is dominating right now. I don't know if anyone has been paying attention, but I'm talking about by hundreds of thousands in many cases. Digital is the king right now, and it's going to get even much more dramatic over time. And the Game Pass situation, like was said, is exactly why Microsoft has been in a good spot and had actually a profit, not a profit, but a record year right now, year over year, right here with their situation. With Sony, the Bungie situation did not factor into it at all. Benji Sale spoke about it, and I see Doovie talked about it too. And this is Benji's tweet here. Bungie will be next quarter, not this one. So they're not even factored into this loss. right here, profit. So Sony states the profit declines are because of lower third-party game sales, lower first-party game sales, increased costs of internal game development. So I think you're both right in different ways. So all those factor into it.
They've also got a weaker yen as well. And the company's, it says here in one of the articles written by Bloomberg, the company's games are underwhelmed in the April-June quarter, with only 47.1 million sales of PlayStation 4 and 5 titles, down from 63 million. So yeah, absolutely there's other factors, but again, that's talking about revenue. What's going on with the profit? There's something else going on behind the scenes.
No, there's not. There's not. It's inflationary costs that are causing an issue with profit. There's the chip shortages, which is probably costing them more money to manufacture. Other things like they wouldn't be selling PS4s anymore. They're selling PS5s at a loss. All these things contribute. Not to mention the fact that
they're still selling
games.
They're still selling PS4s. They're still selling PS4s,
yes, but at a much reduced rate.
Yeah, but they're still selling them. They're still pretty high, man. If you look at the VGCs, they're in some cases higher than PlayStation 5 in a lot of cases. But they're probably not selling.
It's also the lack of AAA sales, by the way.
Exactly.
That's another issue because Microsoft, as we know, haven't had any major AAA games released this year, unfortunately. But Sony, by the way, this is something that's, I don't know if it's startling or if it's shocking, but with Horizon is being bundled with a lot of these PS5s, and it still only did about 3 million in sales. Mm-hmm. They're under what they wanted to sell as far as the PS5s go in general, and that's for a lot of different reasons. But
Elden Ring really hurt that.
Yeah, game. Elden Ring is the king. If they don't win Game of the Year, I don't know what's up. But but you have Horizon, and you had what was the other game they released? Sony,
Ratchet and Clank,
GT7.
GT7. There you go.
Yeah.
GT7.
We don't talk about that.
GT7 and Horizon only amounted for 6 million total sales, and mind you, that's bundled. Added to that for Horizon. People were not buying Horizon as much as Sony had thought they would. So a lot of those issues all figured into the issues for them for their profit decrease too. So it's a nuanced situation.
I don't know all the figures and all the numbers, but for the general vibe, people did not like Horizon as much as Sony thought.
No, absolutely not. I mean, if you look at the first party software sales in total for the quarter, it's 6.4 million. That's not good. That's really
and that's
not
accounting for both, and that's for both games.
Yeah.
And bundled, by the way, with the PS5 for Horizon.
Is it really surprising that they're going to charge $70 for?
You know what's interesting about the $70 thing?
That's going to cause more of a
before you go, Pete. Before you go, do you know what's interesting about the $70 thing? There has yet, and if anyone knows in the chat, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe there has yet to been any $70 price game that has sold over 10 million copies.
Oh.
That's why that's what I was about to say. I think it's going to cause some more of an issue in the long run. When you look at the companies side by side, Xbox still charging less, having Game Pass on top of that, and then Sony charging 70 games, will it eke into their user base and cause more of a problem than actually making more money for them? I think that they overplayed their hand somewhat.
Yeah. Look, I think Sony's practices are starting to come back and hurt them, but it doesn't explain to me why you would have a rev decrease. Your revenues decrease 2%. That's the total money that comes into the company, right? Then your profit decreases by 37%. What are you spending your money on? Is it the setup costs of PS Plus? Are they setting up new studios that we don't know about yet? Are their games costing them a ridiculous amount of money? Like what is the spending that goes
all
along?
Those things? It seems to be risk. Like I said, they said first and third party game sales, as well as the increased costs for game development. So I guess all of those things are factored in.
Yeah,
selling PlayStation 5s that are lost, the inflationary, the money exchange, all these things would be eking into their profits.
Yeah, look, absolutely. But it's just a huge amount of profit to lose. That would be, as an investor, I would start to worry when you get profit loss like that. That to me would be a bit of a red flag.
Like I said, they grew about 5 years in that very short amount of time. So it's just going back to what it should be, I think. I don't think it's too much of a problem.
No, well, look, again, I'll say to you that the revenue makes sense. then I wouldn't be worried about that. A revenue decrease is expected. 2% is actually good. But a profit decrease of 37%, that's fucking huge. Absolutely huge.
It is. And if it continues that way, imagine if it's another, yeah. So down, if that continues and it's another 37%. Now, this is just, as I was in a space earlier with Uni, and he was like, it's not like doom and gloom, but it's definitely eyebrow raising. I agree. And imagine if it happens again. You can't just dismiss that after that. So we'll see.
Absolutely. Hargate's going to jump in, and I'm going to ask him about what he thinks about the revenue, because it's always interesting to get Hargate's take on business. He's
amazing.
He's got some very, very interesting takes. Usually
impromptu Hargate. Jump in.
There is the man.
How you doing?
Has a better beard than Risk It.
It's not possible. Mine's fuller. He's got a longer beard, but mine's thicker.
Huggy, can I get
more bouncy?
Can I get your permission to make a GTA edit of you? I think it would look fantastic, and I want to compare it to the one I made for Risk It.
Absolutely.
No, but I need a good selfie. DM it to me.
So look, Hargate, what's your take on this? Because as me and Pete were going backwards and forwards, Pete's explanation it explains the pandemic, people going back to work, getting outside. That explains the revenue decrease, and that's expected. What I didn't expect, and I don't think what many people expected, was a 37% decrease in profit. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at where their issues are, right, it's the software side of it. That's where they usually make the profits, right? And if they're selling more hardware, which they kind of are, the hardware generally is at a loss, and I think that's kind of where the profit has been really taken up. But the other things still matter, right? Like, I'll give you an example. Like, if we are, and just take these as hypothetical numbers, say buy a chip at $1 normally, right now you might have to buy that for $100. Just because of the shortages, right? So you just try to get whatever you can, right? So and it doesn't have to be the main APU, but it could be just some sub little thing that is in something. And so these little things that you have to deal with, the hardware can just be escalating in cost, and they don't know they just take the hit, right? I mean, what else can you do right now? So those kind of things are happening in the industry. And then, the software sales going down, that usually offsets it. That's where you get your profit, because it's just literally printing money, right? It's the same content just replicated over and over, and you're just getting money for each one. And if that goes down, well, your profit's going to kind of tank, right? And that's what they were really saying, is their profit went down because of the third-party sales went down. Their first party, as you noted, it's just not happening. And those are pretty alarmingly bad numbers, right? So, that's sad, but it is what it is, right? So that's kind of what's happening. I think that's what's happening, and a lot of it might just be the standard, the world, inflation, all that fun stuff is happening, and that decreases values. It just is what it is, right? So they're getting problems. Plus, as far as the decreases, we also have to look at, like, we're coming out of the pandemic, and people are going outside now and deciding not to spend their money on video games.
So what you're saying, Hargate, is exactly what I said. Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Just you agree with me.
You know what? That's not
you're
actually
right.
What you said. What you're talking about is software sales. This is where they make the most profit, and that makes a bit more sense. But again, I will say to you again, a 37% decrease in profit is fucking humongous. Like that.
Oh, it is.
That is like panic stations. I bet they're having board meetings all week about this. Because
I will say,
100% they are. I'm sure they are.
Do you think there's been a large expense, launching PS Plus?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't think so.
Just ask that in how much will they have to invest for the future of cloud gaming? I don't know, because they're going through the usual servers, so they're not actually. I don't think they're actually going to build up their own infrastructure. I think they're just going to use Microsoft. So I don't think the cost to them will be in one large chunk. It'll just be whatever they have to pay Microsoft to use those as all servers. So I don't think it would be that big of a cost.
Would acquisitions factor into this anyway?
I mean, it could if it was. Well, here's what usually happens, right? Companies like to tell you how much they really made, and then they'll spend money to invest on things that they want to. So in general, if there's a profit decrease, it isn't because of investment, because usually they tell that to the shareholders, hey, we're taking your money and investing it in these things, right? So we made that much profit, but we're not going to return it all to you. We're going to take some of that and invest in these things so that we can give you later profits, down the the years, we'll give you more profits, right? So in general, when they have reports like this, it's not because they've made investments. It's usually because they've got costs or they didn't make money. That's usually
And
what
it's
it
not
is.
doom and gloom, is it, Hugget? They have sold 21.7 million consoles. Their
Yeah,
install base is massive. It's about 5 million more than Xbox. The money will come once the software
yeah.
is there. So it's
Yeah,
not all doom and gloom.
I think that's the one that is a little bit more concerning to me is the Horizon and GT7 didn't sell.
Yeah.
That is a concern.
Well,
Because I
it's
think
their bread and
Horizon,
butter, isn't it?
first one was over 10, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It was, and it's their bread and butter. This is their software sales, like you guys are saying.
And you
is their
see
bread and
why
butter.
they're moving to the other type of model of live service games. Because as much as we might not like them, they make tons of money, and they need that cash cow to just keep their system running, right? And they see
not
the
only live service games, but also porting to PC by buying Nixus and all these other
absolutely right. It's just printing money. Like it costs
But-
very little to port your game over and just print the money. Why not?
Here's a question for you, though. Are they a little bit late to the party on this? I think they are.
I think they are, yeah.
Yeah, I think they're
On
a little...
the live service games,
Yeah.
they might be. Again, anything can hit, right? But it's tough. It's not an easy thing, right? Everybody tries. Ubisoft's been trying. It's not
true.
easy.
Most fail, in fact. So
They
you're right.
do, yeah.
Well,
you
now
have to
that
get that right mix.
Now that you mentioned
Apex,
Ubisoft,
Fortnite.
I'm going to move into the next topic because that's a perfect segue. Look, Ubisoft has cancelled Ghost Recon Frontline, thank God, Splinter Cell VR, and 2 unannounced games. That kind of leads into from what we were talking about with these what Hargate was saying, that these live service games are really hard to hit. They often don't hit, and everyone's trying at them. And it's kind of why I'm saying that maybe Sony's a little bit late to the party, because we're pretty saturated now with good live service games that people want to play. Look at Halo's struggling. You know, I mean, that's a good game, just light on content. They're hard things to manage, I think, over
Almost
time.
like you struggled to live right there, and I just killed you. And again,
Did you not see me when I was teabagging?
Yeah, this is when it just got stupid. This was.
This is when it was awesome.
We had a lot of fun.
Exactly. Thank you, Pete.
Umbra,
Awesome. That's
Umbra died a lot. I'm just saying. Look, it says they basically cut out Ghost Recon Frontline, which didn't show well. I think they had the ratio of likes to dislikes was hugely skewed towards dislikes on YouTube, and I think that really affects how publishers see that, because that's a metric that they can actually quantify. If you release a trailer and you get an overwhelming negative response on YouTube, other than people whinging on Twitter, because I don't really think they listen to that as much as they do with metrics that they can measure, like YouTube. So they've ceased development for Ghost Recon Frontline, and Splinter Cell's VR, and 2 unannounced games. Really interesting that they didn't shut down Skull and Bones in this whole thing or earlier on. But I mean, with
so true.
With Singapore,
right?
And with Singapore funding it as well, throwing in the extra funding, it kind of makes sense that they didn't. But you kind of
Defiant as well. You can add into that bag Risket as well. I think that game's going to fail miserably.
Yeah, I think it's probably one that they should look at. I don't know. Yeah, look, I like the idea of it. I just don't like the way it's implemented. Ubisoft's got this thing. It's like, we'll use an IP that we have, and we'll make a game based on that IP that's not actually the same game as the IP that we're making. Like they did that with, they're trying to do that. They tried to do it with Ghost Recon Frontline, turn it into a battle royale. It's not that, it's never been that. Just the way that they're implementing their IPs, I think, is the issue, and people are getting a little bit sick of Ubisoft. DoomCutie, are you an Ubisoft fan? Are you excited to hear that they shut down Ghost Recon, or excited, or underexcited?
I'm not a Ghost Recon fan. I know some people are quite disappointed. They have got a really dedicated fan base. But hopefully this means that by cancelling and cutting the fat from their development list, they can focus on more important things.
Yeah, look, I don't mind the games that they got rid of, a couple of VR games. Ghost Recon already has a multiplayer segment to the game, so if you want to play that, play that. I mean, you don't need a live service game based on Ghost Recon. I think they should be focusing on Assassin's Creed, making
Yeah.
that franchise as good as it can be. Splinter Cell, making that franchise as good as it can be. Beyond Good and Evil, making that game as good as it can be. I think if they do that, and Ubisoft will be fine. And then, they've still got Rainbow Six, which is constantly giving them microtransactions. The player count for that game is always up there. It's always in the top
I think
games played.
you missed one of their live service games that has a lot of potential there as well, The Division. I think that game has not reached its potential.
I agree.
And that they should really be focusing heavy on. That is Ubisoft, isn't it? The Division? Or
Yes.
Yeah, it is, yeah. So Monad was telling me in the chat that one of the games was Assassin's Creed, and I wasn't, aware of that. Is that the case?
That's the rumor, hasn't been confirmed. But maybe he's found something that has confirmed it. But when we're putting together topics for the show, it hadn't been confirmed. But they are showing that that Assassin's Creed game in, I believe it was September. So, I mean, if that doesn't turn up, then I guess we'll know for sure. Umbra,
Assassin's Creed Infinity one, which is gonna be a basic live service
Yeah,
for
but
Assassin's Creed.
Like I said, I think they're just getting rid of IPs that they just don't think are gonna work, so they can make more room for large games like this.
absolutely. I think they should focus on their popular titles like The Division.
Yeah.
Umbra,
To respond
Division.
to respond to Steph, to see Steph down below. Yeah, they have confirmed the Immortals 2, I believe, but it's not going to be set in Greece or whatever, or with the mythology they use. I think it's going to be like a different setting
I think it's gonna
altogether.
be Egypt. Yeah.
No, it's Polynesian. They're setting
Awesome.
they're setting the new Immortals Phoenix in a Polynesian setting. I believe Hawaii is the go. I think
Nice.
who was saying think Moana. So if you think Moana, it's got some pretty good mythology, and I'd be interested to see it. Umbra.
Okay, so Palpatine just
Remember
pointed out
me.
there it was Assassin's Creed Infinite. So, I'm really happy about that because I didn't like the sounds of that game. I didn't like the direction Assassin's Creed was going. I think the community pushed back enough, and I'm happy that they're cancelling that game. Yeah, to me, that's good news. They're cutting the fat.
Yeah. Specifically. Okay, hold on. I lost my train of thought, Riz. Ask the question again because I'm lost.
Sorry, mate. Sorry, Umbra.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I had myself muted. I was talking there. Sorry. So my kind of question is, I forgot as well. Pete's just thrown us completely off.
No, I did too, though. It was also my fault.
That's
But
all good.
I just lost track.
That is all good. Look, should we just move on to the next topic? I think that might be the go because this one's a bit of an interesting one, and I have kind of looked into this one. And there was an interview with an IDOS Montreal founder, and he slammed the shit out of Square Enix for the reason that I do not like Square Enix as a company, as a publishing house. But before I do, please hit the like button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button if you're new here. And yeah, look,
All the buttons.
every button you can hit it. Look, I was struggling.
I guess I think you were asking about Ubisoft canceling Ghost Recon, Frontline, Splinter Cell VR, and 2 unannounced games. Was that it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah. I think Cutie kind of hit it on the head. I think they're just kind of focusing on the games that they know that they can profit off of, the Division, Assassin's Creed, those types of things. I'm interested in seeing what'll happen with Skull and Bones, but if it's not coming to Game Pass, that game is already
Rubbish.
a walking ale.
Rubbish.
Yeah, but you can move on, Riff. I don't have much to add to that.
Look, I will. It's just a bit of an interesting thing. There's a lot of delays happening in the industry at the moment, and I would imagine a lot of projects being scrapped behind the scenes that we don't even hear about. So if it is Assassin's Creed Infinite, I didn't want it to be a live service game. Sorry, Hargate, you didn't get a chance to speak on this. I'll go straight to you after I've read this out. This is an excerpt from the interview with the lead of IDOS Montreal. Speaking on Square Enix, he said, They say earlier this year, Square Enix offloaded Eidos Montreal and Crystal Dynamics to Embracer for $300 million, a figure widely seen in the industry as a fire sale deal. Now, I don't know if you guys remember, if you guys are in the chat and you guys on the show, we spoke on this. My feeling was that, and Jack was here at the time, and his feeling as well was that they did that on purpose. They offloaded that to get rid of it to a smaller company, so Microsoft did not acquire them, so that they could be ripe for purchase by Sony. Because the rumor or the thought was that Sony didn't want to buy the Western studios with the Japanese studios. I'll continue on. That deal leaves Square Enix a slimmer company and one now almost exclusively focused on its own Japanese development studios. He said, it was clear that we had great IPs that we were sleeping on the shelf. Legacy of Kain, that was discussed, but wasn't as strong as Deus Ex and Thief, reflecting on Eidos Montreal's legacy. We did our best and we struggled, and that's life and development in games, he continued, but you don't hit it off all the time. And we were close, but just missing some finishing touches. A year before Diastos left, he recalled that the tense period where Square Enix had said it was disappointed in the company's financial performance and that it had been due to a $65 million profit despite not having any deliverables that year. Really interesting. We were dumbfounded, he said. The pressure was starting to build, and my employees towards me and towards the superiors. I think when people are in crisis situation, there's a lot of situations you do see their core behavior and values change. I didn't like what I saw. There was a real lack of leadership, courage, and communication. And when you don't have those basic things, no employee can do their job correctly, especially when you're heading a studio. He goes on to say many other things, but one of the things he does say in profit and loss statements when they had their investors meetings and their board meetings, that it was always an unreal expectation placed on the Western studios, and there was literally no expectations placed on the Japanese studios. And I think his general feeling is, and I think it's been the general feeling of everyone in the industry starting to hear the rumors coming out, that Square treats their Western studios like second-class citizens. And to me, that's just not on. And you can see it with Xbox. Final Fantasy VII, they're not bringing that to Xbox as promised. They don't seem to respect the West in any way. And to me, I think that that's a bit of a misstep and a shame. But he also does go on to say that Sony, the rumor was, and he had heard it within his studio, that Sony was looking to buy Square, that they didn't, and to make them more viable, because Sony didn't want the Western studios, they flogged off their studios for $300 million. Hargeet, do you think that it is still just rumors, but it's from a lead developer of Eidos Montreal? Do you think this all sounds accurate, or do you think it's just a developer being bitter about the sale?
No, I'm sure there's some truth to it. Right? Even if he was being bitter, I'm sure there's some truth to what he's saying. It's maybe not 100%, but you can guess from looking at things anyways. Who in their right mind says that their own studio failed to deliver when talking to the public? That just doesn't happen, right? That is just ridiculous. And they did that. They did that to one of their own studios. That just doesn't happen. I don't. You have those kind of discussions internally. You make whatever changes you need to. I'm not sure I remember ever seeing something like that. But that's what they did, and that just tells you they did not care about those people at all. That's pretty weird, but okay. I don't know if this was just they thought it would be simple. They just do their own thing. Maybe it's a culture thing. People in Japan tend to work hard and are expected to work hard. Talk about crunch. That's just normal there. So maybe they're just like, wait, you only work like 50 hours? Wait, that's bullshit. You need to be working 90 hours. Right?
Yeah, but they're like, you're lazy. What the hell are you
doing? Right, and it could just be something like that. I don't know, right? But that's like I've been to Japan, and that is how they do really work that ridiculously, right? So it may just be that way, and then the expectations are you just do what you're told and you make it happen. You don't have these life issues, right? And they're I don't know. It may just be a culture thing they just can't handle, right? Even Sony has decided they're going to move their headquarters for PlayStation here because it's better for them to make games here instead of having the Japanese culture thing, which was causing them problems, right? So I don't know. It could just be that, but I tend to, it could be nothing. But I tend to think that he's telling the truth. I think this is exactly what happened, and it is very likely that Sony is looking to buy Square. But yeah, I think this is exactly what happened. They just did not want to deal with them anymore and jettison them for 300 million. With
That's
all
what it
the
seems
IP.
like. And I think
Yeah,
we all kind of came to this conclusion even before the developer actually said this. That's the funniest thing
Mhm.
because it was blatantly obvious. Like every time something happened, their sale forecast, it was always them trashing their Western side, no matter
Yeah,
what.
exactly.
It didn't meet expectations. I'm like, it sold this much millions and it still didn't reach that. Like there was nothing they could do that was ever good enough. It felt like for Square Enix on the Western side, nothing. And you didn't hear the same thing when it came to the Eastern division. So, and like Hargy said, this was a foregone conclusion. I've been saying this for at least a year now. All things considered, that Square Enix was obviously going to be acquired by Sony. It was pretty damn blatant and obvious. Like they have a clear bias for Sony where they put their games on there and ignore the Xbox side. Not all games, but a lot of the big premier games, clearly. It's pretty obvious that they're gearing up. And then they got rid of their Western division to make themselves more viable and slim to, be purchased because Sony couldn't afford to get all of that possibly. Or at least maybe Sony didn't want to pick up all of that. Maybe they just wanted the Eastern side. But I thought it was pretty obvious too. But I believe this developer 100%. I have no doubt what he said was the truth. I know they felt like they probably like redheaded stepchildren there. I'm pretty sure. It was pretty obvious to me. So him saying it just confirmed, I believe, what all of us had been speculating on for all this time.
Yeah,
Shout out to all the gingers out there.
We've almost word for word pretty much said what this developer said.
Ginger love.
I was about to say, if anyone is a redheaded stepchild, we do not discriminate here at Xbox Infinite. So, and Umbra's
we ask you to dye your hair. We ask you to
hair.
dye your hair completely and get a tan.
Well, Risket can say that. He's
I'm not ginger.
Risket's got a bit of an orange beard going on.
I've got a tri-colored beard. I've got red, white,
Orange
and
tinge.
red, white, and blue. No, red, white,
It's
and
the Viking.
and black.
It's the Viking in him. That's what it
You
is.
got the America beard.
Look, I'll go to you, DoomCutie. Do you see Sony acquiring Square? Keep in mind as well that there's been a lot of talk, and I myself was one of them early on. I think very early in the year, maybe late last year. I was saying, why would Sony buy the cow when they've already got the milk? But as soon as they sold those Western studios for 300 million, I immediately thought, yeah, something's up. I think Sony's going to pick this up. What's your thoughts?
I mean, considering what we've been talking about in this recent report from Sony, do you really think they can afford it?
Yes.
That's a good question. I mean, they can afford Square as they are now. I don't know if they could have afforded them maybe if they had both the Western and the Eastern division.
Absolutely,
Hi.
they can't afford them, yeah.
Okay,
Well, I believe they can afford them for now, for sure.
then yeah, I mean, they probably will. I think they will bring them under their wing, and I think it's just easier to have that control,
Absolutely, yeah.
Mm.
I think if look, they've primed themselves for acquisition by selling off those studios too. I think that's what you got to keep in mind.
they did, and it's clear. It's clear they want to be acquired.
Yeah, and if Sony doesn't do it, which I think is unlikely, it's going to be someone else. So, Pete,
I don't think Microsoft will.
No, they would. I think they would.
Doubt Sony. Yeah,
They
I
could if they
doubt
wanted.
Sony will let it slip through their fingers. They will be the first cab off the ranks. I think Microsoft would if they could. I just don't think Square Enix would like that. I think they would like Sony to buy them. And like you were saying, Brisket, yes, they already get all these timed exclusives, but I think I said it to you in the green room. I think Microsoft have pushed Sony's hand a little bit when it comes to their expansion into Japan. They're really, really trying to get into that market, and Square Enix would be a massive get for them and would really elevate them into that Japanese market, which they are really pushing for at the moment. I think that Square, to me, personally, isn't worth as much now that they got rid of Idios and they got rid of Crystal Dynamics. They sold their Western division to Embracer Group because that's the games that I like. I mean, I love Deus Ex. I love Tomb Raider, the reboot. I think these were amazing games. I'm not that much into, these JRPGs. In saying that, but I think it is. I think they are going to get sold, and I think it'll get announced soon, and I think it will be Sony.
Absolutely. Hargate, do you see this happening? I think we've already got it here, haven't we? Got it here?
I mean, here's the thing, right? Every time we hear rumors, they don't always actually pan out.
Yeah.
So given that, I'll be a little hesitant to say that it is happening. But this is coming from somebody who worked there, right? So it's a little bit more substantial than what we usually get. It's possible. I wouldn't put it past them. Is it worth it? I don't know. But I think what they're looking to do is really just counter what Microsoft did with, and this would be ZeniMax, because that's that far back, right?
Yeah.
They can't counter Activision. That's just not an option for
Yeah.
Sony. They can't do anything close to that. But they're trying to counter what Microsoft did with Zenny. And this would be about that level. It'd probably be like a little bit more than what Zenny cost. But so, yeah, I think that's what they're looking to do. They said they're going to buy something. They've already told us, right? Both sides have said they're still acquiring. So it's possible this is their target. I'm trying to think of what it like. I guess they have stopped making their own Japanese RPGs, but they kind of already get these as exclusives anyway. But yeah, I guess it just makes it like permanent that they have them.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what you said. You know, why buy the cow when you've got the milk? That's what I was thinking. But I mean, as soon as they dropped Crystal Dynamics and Eidos, man, that makes them prime for acquisition, not just from Sony, but many other companies could move in and take them over. So, yeah, I think it was a specific, well-placed, thought-out move. Look, we'll move to the next topic, and our final topic for the evening. I didn't think it was much of a topic, but whoo, did it cause a stir on Twitter. There was spaces and accusations and war within the community. It's the kind of thing that I love to see. But before I do, please hit that like button.
He's a queen, a drama queen.
Please hit that like button, share it out, subscribe. And Phil Spencer stated that God of War was his most anticipated game that he's most excited to play next.
Phil is canceled. Get him out of here.
I didn't think much of it at all. I was like, well, it's a good game, and we know Phil plays everywhere. But here's the play the devil's advocate. What I heard, and I thought it was a bit ridiculous. Phil's out there saying that he's going to play another platforms game when his platform, he's the CEO of, hasn't delivered any games this year, and not everyone on Xbox has a PlayStation. And so people were saying that it's in bad taste, and he shouldn't be out there saying that when he can't even deliver games for the platform that he runs.
Not normal people, just morons on Twitter.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I'll flick it to Umbra, because I don't know if Umbra was in these spaces. He had a very good view of some of the arguments. I did have to laugh a bit, but what are your thoughts, Umbra, on? I
mean, it is what it is, right? Because you're going to have those who are super ingrained and entrenched, rather, into this whole console warring situation, and they don't use the stronger part of their brain to realize that Phil is just a gamer like all of us, and him actually saying, hey, he's hyped for this game does not mean he's diminishing Xbox in any way. I'm hyped for God of War as well. I'm not paying $70 for it. I'm not that hyped, but I'm hyped to play it. And if I can get somebody to donate my Cash App $10 to take off that part, I'll gladly get it at launch.
Oh,
but
my
no,
gosh.
but seriously.
We're setting up a GoFundMe.
Yeah, exactly. GoFundMe at $10 because I'm not paying $70.
I was honestly in those spaces we were in over the last week when people were talking about how people are in like men in men's DMs asking other men for money so that they can play these games. I am like, what?
Cutie. So there was this whole story, by the way. You guys kind of missed out on this. It was a guy. I don't want to name him. I want to, shame him. But this guy was going around calling Xbox gamers broke, calling Game Pass welfare gaming, and all these other. Oh yeah, he was just demeaning Xbox gamers left and right. Well, wouldn't you know, this guy got on on Twitter and started begging all of his little followers and such. I don't want to say little. That sounds demeaning, but he started begging his followers, asking them for money so he can pay his rent, and that he was about to be homeless. Wow. And then he threatened that he might commit suicide. All a facade, all a lie.
Yeah.
All a lie. He even held a space afterward and tried to get like aggressive with people, threatening violence and all of this other stuff because people called him out on it. He blocked those, by the way, who donated to him. Those who did donate to him, he blocked, by the way, after the case.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts. It
was crazy.
It's a very nuts kind of world, Twitter. And if you do enter into the Twitterverse, a lot of those people aren't normal, so you can't really be super trusting. I
think this is why Hargeet hasn't signed up yet. He's like, nah.
Exactly.
I know. I just messaged the guys. I was like, wait, I can't find Hargeet on Twitter because I think I tried to look for you before, and then they're like, no, he doesn't have one, and I was like, oh,
yeah.
Okay. But yeah. But this whole situation
I am not
here.
a Sith Lord, truly.
But what's up, truly? But my thing on this whole situation is it's outlandish. I mean, there's no reason for us to be upset about Phil being excited for that. Hell, last year Shuhei Yoshida was excited for Forza Horizon 5. So what? Like, people can't be excited. Phil is a real gamer. Shuhei is a real gamer. It's all right for them to be excited for, or us, any of us, to be excited for a game. It shouldn't matter because of the plastic box you're playing it on, And Phil is 100% Team Xbox. You all know this. So anybody actually getting upset by that, it's like, come on, get your priorities right.
It's a little bit ridiculous.
Especially when the game he's playing is God of War 2.
Yeah. If all the games he
it's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's that's my take. I thought it was a complete non-issue until I saw Twitter blowing up about it. I was like, you guys for real? Like, the dude's a gamer. We should be happy. We should be happy that the guy who runs the platform that we prefer to play on is a gamer and isn't afraid to be positive about his competition. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Anyone else want to follow up on this, Pete?
I'm good. I think it's ridiculous. God of War 2 Ragnarok is going to be one of the greatest games that you can play. If you do have a PlayStation, get it, guys. I wouldn't be personally playing $70 as well. I don't support $70 games like Umbra, but I still think the game's going to be amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll add just one. Like Umbra pretty much said everything, but I'll add one thing. We should want Phil to play the games on other consoles, so he knows what the heck it is we are missing. So we would add, he'll add those games. I mean, this is like, that's a terrible idea to think he should be insulated to what is in his ecosystem. No, we want them using the other ecosystems to understand what they're missing. So this is a great thing for him to be excited about that. Right, and if it's Breath of the Wild 2 is coming, I want him to play that too. Yes, go bring those kind of games to Xbox as well. So,
yeah, and that's you just heard Elaine say that she plays everywhere and everything, so she can be inspired, and that would probably go doubly for Pete. DoomCutie, do you think that Phil's an absolute traitor for betraying the green box?
Look, if your box is green, go to the doctor. No, I mean.
Oh my god!
Yikes!
No, look, I am. I'm a big fan of Phil. His team and Sarah Bond, and I was
going to say I'm a big fan of Sarah.
We all are, darling. And you know what? I was really happy that they jumped on this. I guess you call them trends on Twitter. Like there's always like a question or a series of I don't know, just things that people can post that are sort of everyone's doing. And I thought it was really awesome that they got on this bandwagon. They're very inclusive. Gaming is for everyone, And he really lives by his ethos. And he wants everyone to have a good time when they game. And he is a human. And he is a gamer. Of course he's going to play God of War. Like, he did. Yeah, I think it's ludicrous to drag him under the bus.
It's crazy.
But you know what? He knew what he was doing. I know. I can sense that he's a bit cheeky and just wanted to have some fun. So.
I just think it's console war, absolute bullshit nonsense. And look, if you are that dead serious about your console warring, I'm not going to take that away from anyone because, hey, it's a bit of fun having a console war, having a debate, having discourse is a good thing. I've always said this. Gaz calls it sauce. I also like to like immerse myself in the sauce. However,
Really?
it should be fun. It should be a fun thing that you do. It shouldn't get
Yeah.
serious. It should never get personal. And if you're taking it
agree.
that seriously, that you think that Phil shouldn't play on another platform just because they were unable to put out first parties, I think you just need to go sit down, take a break, look at the mirror, touch the grass, do something like that. Get out and have an ice
It's
cream.
funny though. It's funny because Boba said he would have said Starfield if it wasn't delayed.
That's probably true. But
That'll be next year's. That'll be next year's one.
you saved it up. But look, we've had an absolutely amazing show. We've had two amazing guests. I'm sorry, Hargeet, that you were kind of on a little bit shorter. I should have dragged you in earlier. You have awesome takes on a lot of the financial stuff, and I hope that you enjoyed Elaine's takes, both chat and Hargeet, on her side of the industry.
Can we ban C-Steph, please?
Yeah, he's
It's time
on
for Steph
stage
to be
right
banned.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a menace. He's a menace
He's a
here
menace.
and in Golf with Friends.
And in Halo.
Yeah, and in Halo.
He got banned for 15 minutes for killing his teammates last time I played with him.
He tried to kill me one time by the way of driving off the map with the mongoose, and I jumped off, unfortunately in time, and got out of there. But he killed himself. But that was fortunate. See, Steph, you're a menace.
He is a menace, and I'm banning him right now. Look, I'll just we're gonna move out of the show, do the outros. Hargeet, thank you for joining us. Thank for giving us your takes. And we appreciate having you on. Let people know where they can find you, what you're up to, what you'll be playing in the next week. And sorry about that cough. I managed to mute every other one, and that one just got me by surprise.
Okay, everyone's talking over
so yeah, Hargeet, I'm on Game On Daily, and I'll actually be on the podcast tomorrow, so check us out, Game On Daily on YouTube, and GameOnDaily.com is the website. And yeah, by the way, the first person you had on, it was awesome. That interview was great. And then that was why Colt joined, because I was on the party chat with him while listening to you, and I'm like, Colt, you should listen to this. This is pretty cool. And that's why he joined in. So
Elaine's lovely.
Elaine, I got Elaine as the guest. When
Here he
saw her on
goes.
Xbox
Toot this
International.
on.
Yeah,
was
hey, talk your
amazing.
stuff, Pete. That's right.
She was
Talk
amazing.
Pete did this. Hey, talk your stuff.
No, he was just saying that he found him on XIP, and they had a great interview with her, and she is an amazing, lovely lady. And guys in the chat, I really hope that you guys enjoyed her takes. It was a good idea, Pete. It's probably Pete would push for that like hard because he could tell that she was a very intelligent and knowledgeable person about the industry. So definitely a good.
So much to the show.
Yeah.
She
Yeah,
was
Pete
fantastic.
definitely pushed for her every time, like every other week, I believe. Every week he was mentioning it. So
Yeah, he
Pete
was.
definitely pushed for it.
Absolutely.
And
It
she
a good
was
call.
great. She actually was really great, by the
Mhm.
way. Conversationally, she was just
Right,
great.
we
She
can
was
talk about
natural.
this later, guys. We're on outros.
Hey, well,
Cutie, you were
well,
great too. I think that sends a tinge of jealousy there.
No, I'm literally like, Riska is not feeling well.
Yeah.
We're
it's
on
true.
outros.
It's true.
Oh, sure. It's just risky.
Okay, so we'll go to
I'm just messing with you.
we'll go to DoomCutie. Look, let people know where they can find you, what you're up to, and what you'll be playing this week. Oh, and before you do that, if you want to find any of our links, and you want to find us anywhere on any of the platforms that we are on, it is linked in the description. So please go there if you can't remember. Otherwise, get your pen and paper out and DoomCutie, let everyone know where they can find you.
Oh, thanks so much for Hargeet and obviously Elaine. It's always so fantastic to have women who are in the gaming industry on here. I'm a big advocate for that. You know that. So yeah, thanks Pete for bringing her in. This week I actually have a very exciting announcement. I can't actually say anything at the moment, and I'm not announcing it at the moment. Otherwise I would. But yeah, stay tuned for that. That'll be happening very early. Well, the thing that I'm doing will be happening very early on Saturday morning. So in the next podcast, if I'm a bit sleepy, that'll be the reason why. This week, what am I up to? Well, I obviously this weekend have to finish off my Forza Horizon 5. I'll probably be inevitably playing more Halo with these lunatics, and and yeah, have a good week, everyone, and
I
yeah,
agree, Boba.
be kind to each other. Yeah, okay, Boba.
We'll move to Jedi Knight. Thanks for coming every week, giving us your takes, and let people know where they can find you, what you're up to, what you'll be playing.
I think we should just make Hargeet a permanent panel member. He's here every week anyway. You are an absolute legend, mate. Love your takes, especially because they align with mine. Risk it, Umbra.
If they were with Risk It, he would not advocate for you.
Right?
Yeah, you guys are awesome. I have been laughing the whole time watching Halo on screen, just killing ourselves like every 2 minutes. So much fun. And you can find me at on Xbox at JediKnightPete, at Twitter at JediKnightPete. Peace out.
Absolutely awesome. And I'll just move to you, Umbra. Fantastic every week. Give us where they can find you, what you'll be up to, what you'll be playing, and then we'll get out of here.
Well, first, I want to give a thanks to Hargeet and, of course, to Chula, or should I say it the Australian way? Thank you, Chula, for coming through.
God.
And
That was awesome.
thank you for coming through, both of you. And, of course, my lovely and great co-host and host, Risk and Doom and Jedi. You guys are great, and I always love chopping it up with you guys. And it will be more deaths in Halo. Cutie, you'll be joining the death rank soon. But yes, we have to formally welcome you into that. Yeah, you guys can find me, of course, under Umbra Infinite or Infinite Umbra on Twitter. Either way, you'll find me. And Superhavoc on Xbox. And we're probably going to have some community game nights going on this week. If not tonight, if tomorrow. And in the future. So you all make sure you stay tuned and join with us. Don't feel too shy or scared to join us. We won't bite hard. And I've been... and... you all can find me, of course, here every week at 8 Eastern, and of course now on Boom's podcast, Xbox Factor, on Tuesday afternoon Eastern. So you all please join us on that, and please always come back to support us here. We appreciate you guys.
Absolutely. And you can find me on Twitter at Riskit4TB and on Xbox at Riskit4TB. And you guys already know where my YouTube is because you're here. And yeah, sorry guys that I'm sick again this week. I've been sick for what seems like a bloody month, and hopefully I will get over it because I don't have a little one here making me sick anymore. Fingers crossed. And yeah, great show. Chat, you guys are amazing. You power the show every week, and we really appreciate every single one of you that came through and is still here. And we will see you all next week. Thank you very much. Everyone on the panel, everyone on the chat, let's all just hug each other and stuff. Oh, it's so
Love
great.
you guys.
E-hugs.